Meanwhile, Jacksonville can set their sights likely on Kansas City. Here we go for the win.
Kansas City, here I come. I'm going to Kansas City.
All right, folks. Yes, that's where Jacksonville is going to head this Saturday, going out to Kansas City to take on the top seed, the Kansas City Chiefs, in divisional playoff after a thrilling comeback win over the Los Angeles Chargers, who basically had a 27-0 lead and basically blew it. Just like the old days. It sounds like just like the old San Diego Chargers. Can't hold them. So I'm Chris Heidel. Welcome to Sports Talk with Chris Heidel tonight. This is January 17th, day after Martin Luther King Day. So hope you guys pay respects to them and all the good stuff that he did to help out, to make this country great. So so tonight we're going to start our divisional playoff round now until 7:30. We're going to bring in Josh. Real quick here, Josh Klingler, who is the sideline reporter for the Chiefs Radio Network out there in beautiful Kansas City, Missouri. So we bring in Josh. I know he's pretty a busy man. Hi, Josh. Thank you so much for being on call. I appreciate it.
Good evening. How is everybody doing?
Doing great.
Good job.
Thank you so much for coming. I'm a big Chiefs fan here in Baltimore. Since I was a kid, I enjoyed Joe Montana when he got traded to Kansas City. So I have basically everything in my closet, more Kansas City stuff than 49er stuff. So it was a little hard with the Super Bowl a couple years ago. With the 49ers and Chiefs. My mom's like, "Who are you going to wear?" I'm like, "I don't know. It's Montana Bowl." That's what I called it. So talk about this game coming up, on Saturday night against the Jaguars. They're coming and rolling in after a thrilling win.
Yeah, it feels like a kind of a game about the coaches, at least to start anyway. Doug Peterson was obviously Andy Reid's first quarterback in Philadelphia, was on his staff in Philadelphia and then in Kansas City before moving on back to Philly as the Eagles head coach. So these two guys know each other very, very well. I think to a certain extent, Doug Peterson will do some of the things we've seen Andy Reid do, which is be very creative on offense. I don't want to say risky, but I think he's probably a little more of a gambler maybe than Andy Reid in that respect. And I got to imagine that Jacksonville is going to come in feeling like, why not us? Why not now? And they got kind of nothing to lose, can play free and easy. We'll probably pull out a whole bunch of stops and try to, do some things to flip the game against the Chiefs. They played them back in week 10. I don't know how much of that game really factors in to this one, but they did have a surprise onside kick. So I think the Chiefs are fully expecting a lot of trickery and a lot of creativity. I wouldn't be shocked if they pull something out of their playbook we haven't seen on film, or that they had worked on back in training camp, something like that. Although I could say the same thing for the Chiefs. They've been known to obviously pull some things out of the bag of tricks, including that snow globe play against the Raiders in the last game of the regular season. So it could be a lot of fun if both offensive minds get a little creative in this one.
Yeah, Josh, with that touchdown, it looked pretty cool with the what they did with the Raiders. But Orlando Brown got called for holding, or did the refs didn't know what to do because they never saw that before.
Yeah, I think that's what everybody's wondering. Like, I don't know if you kind of can give the referees a heads up sometimes, like, watch out for this. It is legal, but I don't know how much heads up they gave. And yeah, there was a lot of confusion because everybody's like, did this just really happen? So unfortunately, it didn't go for a touchdown. It was one of those great plays that didn't go for anything, didn't count as anything other than a hold, but they did score in the very next play. But it's just a perfect example, I think, of Andy Reid, where he lets his guys be creative. That's a play that was kind of dialed up by the team, and they try to get stuff in the playbook if they can, and it really keeps the players engaged and locked into what they're doing. And I think at a perfect time of the season too. The Chiefs have been we've kind of joked that it's been the AFC Championship game's been the Arrowhead Invitational, and so they expect to go a long ways every year now. And so do they get a little bit maybe bored towards the tail end of the regular season? Possibly. And I think that was the perfect way to kind of get everybody engaged, let them be creative, let them have some fun, and we'll see if if something, I don't think quite that crazy, but if they get a little creative on offense, again, this game could be a lot of fun.
Yeah, Josh, and at that game, Jacksonville was really 3-6, and after they lost to the Chiefs, they're 3-7, and everybody thought they were gone. They're like, oh god, this is back to their old way of Jacksonville, and then they played the Ravens tough after that. They beat the Titans. It seems like in the fourth quarter they become the Jaguars have been better in the fourth quarter than literally in the first three quarters.
Yeah, and I think that's definitely the key. That won't be the same team they saw in week number 10 for sure. Obviously, offensively, I think they're very capable. Their skill guys are really good. Christian Kirk's had a very nice year. I think the tight end can be a problem as well. ETN is 1,100 yards on the ground, so they can be very capable in the run game. And then they don't turn the football over. And I think that will be an absolute key. That despite the fact that last week Trevor Lawrence had the 4 picks, he had just 8 in the regular season. So they haven't really been a team that's turned the football over. That will be a major factor. The Chiefs have I think, especially down the stretch, maybe turned it over a little bit more than people would like them to, and maybe kept a couple teams in games because of those turnovers. So playing mistake-free football, they're a pretty tough team to beat. And so I think that's going to be obviously a big key either way. Jacksonville to not turn it over to stay in the ball game. And I think the Chiefs maybe not to turn it over to keep somebody possibly in a ball game.
Adam, you had a question?
First of all, Josh, not only are you the Chiefs sideline reporter, but you also do play-by-play for the Kansas Jayhawks. So, Rock, Chalk, Jayhawk, KU.
So we have a KC and a Montana fan and a KU fan in the house?
Yes.
Not bad.
All right, Josh. What's it like working with the living legend like Mitch Holthus during Kansas City Chief games? I mean, everybody knows who he is. He's well-loved in Chiefs Nation. So what's it like working with Mitch on game day?
Yeah, he's unbelievable. And I don't know that there's anybody more prepared for a broadcast than Mitch Holthus. He watches a ton of tape. He delves into the stats, but he's also got a great sense of humor and a great sense of history. And I don't know there's anybody more prepared for a broadcast than him. I know I've learned a lot in that respect for, the other stuff that I may do in terms of preparation, because I don't think anybody does it better. And his encyclopedia of a brain as well for keeping up with statistics and especially the last few years when Mahomes is breaking like so many different records. Kelsey's doing the same thing. He's always kind of paying attention to what the next kind of mile marker is for those guys and is always on top of it. So yeah, it's really, really solid. He's just a true pro. I biased, but I think we have one of the best sounding broadcasts, I think, in the NFL. I have a very small part of it during the game, but I think if I talk a lot, it's because too many people are injured. So they want to keep me quiet as much as possible. But I just think the broadcast sounds great, and I'm saying that this is my 3rd season with the Chiefs, but I was a listener before that and a fan, and so to be able to join what I think was one of the better sounding broadcasts in all of the NFL has been a blast.
That's awesome. That's great. That's cool. I mean, you were a fan, and all of a sudden you got the job as a sideline reporter, and you're like, this is my dream come true for you. Like, wow, this is great. And then you've been like on the road, Super Bowls and AFC title games, and you're like, wow, I've seen the country pretty much.
And we played a lot of games during that span too. I mean, it's been 3 full seasons. I guess I've covered the team prior to this, but I've been in Kansas City for a long time. But yeah, just having 4 straight AFC Championship games, 2 trips to the Super Bowl. They've been prepared for long seasons, and so we're trying to remind everybody this doesn't happen everywhere because things can even the Bucks, who the Chiefs got thumped by just 2 years ago in the Super Bowl. We saw how far they have fallen in short order. So we try to remind everybody around here that it can dissipate quickly, but the Chiefs have done a really good job of kind of backfilling and turning over the roster and making savvy moves in that regard to try to keep this thing extended further and further out. But it's amazing to think that, the worst case scenario over the last 4 years has been out in the AFC Championship game. That's not a bad living.
No, and I know the Cowboys need a place kicker, so they're probably going to call somebody this week because I can't believe he missed 4 extra points, and they were calling him a Chuck Knobloch on Twitter. I'm like, what? It's like he's not a Chuck Knobloch. That's a whole different story. That's a whole different baseball.
Hey,
Like,
we've had some kicker issues in Kansas City way back when.
yeah.
We normally don't utter that one particular kicker's name here in town, but and then they've had some hiccups there in the kicking game this year. Harrison Butker is really good. I think behind Justin Tucker, he might be the second best kicker in the NFL. But even this year, he's had a few issues, and they've had some issues in special teams that hopefully have been rectified. Certainly with a couple weeks of practice leading up to this one, I'm hoping that isn't the case. But I know fans a little bit around here, they get a little shy about some special teams gaffes at times. So I suppose they can feel, I don't know if anybody can feel the Cowboys pain though. I don't, 4 extra points missed. That poor guy looked like he wanted to be anywhere other than in that stadium Monday night.
Exactly. Matt, you got a question for Josh real quick?
Yes, Josh. So given that Trevor Lawrence with the Jaguars had 4 interceptions, he went through for 4 interceptions, and then he came back and still won that game. What do you think the Chiefs are going to have to do in order to win the game?
Yeah, certainly they know that the Jags are okay with digging out of deficits. The Chiefs have done that over the last few years too. I think neither team feels like they're probably ever out of a football game. Again, uncharacteristic for Trevor Lawrence last week, and then the ability to bounce back. A lot of other quarterbacks, they may have gone in the tank. A team may have gone in the tank as badly as they played in that opening half. So to be able to turn it around, stay in a game, and keep going, certainly means that the Chiefs can't expect them to go away if they are able to get a lead and try to push out. Don't expect the Jags to go away. That Week 10 matchup, they really didn't. Although the Chiefs were in control the entire game, they could never knock out the Jaguars. And again, that's when they were just trying to figure out their footing. They have learned a lot since that point in time. So I don't think it's going to be an easy out by any means. I think it's whoever plays the cleanest football. And I think if the Chiefs play clean football, they're tough to beat by anybody. There's just been times where they've kind of fallen into the trap of turnovers. Stay away from that. And I think they're in really good position, not only Saturday, but for the rest of the postseason.
That's right. Well, Josh, let me let you go. So thank you so much for coming on. And Chiefs and Jags 4:30 on NBC or on Peacock if you have the streaming service, or if you're on the XM radio area, you can probably find them on the Chiefs broadcast on XM radio.
Darn straight. I'm glad we're playing the first game too, because it was excruciating to sit around and watch football last week. As great as the bye is, it was stressful. I'm glad they're playing the first game. So you don't have to sit around and watch more games before we get to ours. Should be fun on Saturday. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Josh. Thank you so much.
You bet.
Thanks, Josh.
All right, that's Josh Klinger, who is the sideline reporter for the Kansas City Chiefs. Big game on Saturday afternoon at 4:30. So the Chiefs are moving on. So we have to make a switch here because
so now everybody's taking their shirts off?
No, yeah, it's funny, Matt. I have all these different jerseys, so I could actually welcome my next guest, who basically is a Buffalo Bills alumni.
Wow!
And I got it because I felt bad for DeMar. Hopefully he was doing fine with this EJ Manuel's number, but let's bring in Steve Tasker, so makes him feel like he's just like at home with the with the Bills jerseys on and all that stuff. So, hi Steve, how you doing? Happy holidays.
How you guys?
Can you hear us? Hold on. I guess it's a mic issue. Hold on.
There you go.
There we go.
There you go, Steve.
How's
All
that?
right.
Yeah, how's that?
That's good.
Sorry.
I hear you.
I apologize.
That's okay.
That's me. It's you. It's
Okay.
user error.
Okay,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all right. Thank you so much for coming on tonight. Big game this weekend. This is actually the game that everybody pretty much wants to see after what happened in Cincinnati.
Yeah, there'll be a gajillion people watching this game, no question. It should be a really good game as well. The Bengals are going to come in; they're going to be highly motivated because in the aftermath of the Damar Hamlin incident and the game being canceled, the Bengals really are the team that got the shaft in the whole thing. Now they're going on the road to come to Buffalo, when in all reality they had a chance to have this game, the same game this weekend in Cincinnati again. if they'd have beaten the Bills in Week 17. They would have had the head-to-head in the same record if everything else falls the way it did. They got to be upset. Plus, not getting a chance at the 1 seed, not getting and then, they do get the championship game on a neutral field if they get by Buffalo. But this game against Buffalo, by all rights, they're feeling should have had a chance to be in Cincinnati, and for them to go on the road this weekend, they're using that as fuel to fire them up.
Yeah. Well, Steve, do you like the way the NFL is doing with this neutral site for the title game? I feel like they should have done something better instead of saying go down to Atlanta and play a title game in Atlanta. I think he's frozen. I think we lost him here. You guys still there?
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah, I think the weather, because there's a lot of
Sorry about
weather
that.
there in Buffalo. That's okay. Can you hear us?
Are you guys all right? Sorry about
Yeah, we're
that.
good. That's all right. It's technology. You got to love it, Yeah. So what I was saying was, with this game coming up.
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, with the neutral site, I feel like that means it's like giving a city of Atlanta another game. Yeah, it's like, okay, that's great to make it a neutral site, but this room is for people from Buffalo have to travel down to Atlanta. People from Kansas City has to travel. It doesn't feel like a home field advantage for anybody.
No, it's not going to be a home field advantage, but I'll say this: there's not going to be too many Atlanta Falcon fans in that stadium. That's for sure. The Chiefs and Bills will sell that thing out in a matter of hours. The league has forced both teams to start trying to sell tickets tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. And both teams are like, "What? Oh, that's great. You really just going to let us do that in front of the Cincinnati Bengals and give them all that motivation to come out and crush us for selling tickets to a game we haven't earned." Chiefs are the same way. The Jaguars are going to be mad that the Chiefs are already selling tickets to a game they haven't earned yet. So those teams on the road this weekend are going to have a little bit extra fuel on the fire, not only for the Bengals having to go on the road in the first place to play the Bills, but to have both teams selling tickets to the championship game between the other two teams. Yeah. So the neutral site, a good idea. One knew that Cincinnati was going to be getting out of the schedule, and they were going to have to make a deep ruling as to how they were going to be fair. There's just no way to make it fair. Cincinnati, Buffalo only played 16 games. Everybody else played 17. The games the reason that Monday night game was being watched by so many people because it was a big game. It was two good teams who had great seasons, who everybody wanted to see, and because it mattered at this time of year.
Right.
So when they had to throw it off the schedule, what a wrench it threw into everything. So now nobody's happy. What the solution's not perfect. They did the best they could, and Cincinnati will come into Buffalo highly motivated, and rightfully so. And Jacksonville will go into Kansas City highly motivated, and rightfully so.
Yeah, I saw that this morning in the press release. They're like, they're selling, like you said, you're selling tickets now. I'm like, can you just wait until like the Chiefs win on Saturday to start doing that? Because that to me, it's like you're showing other people, like the other teams, like you said, like motivation.
Yeah.
Like, we're going to come in there and destroy you. It's like, have a nice day.
Yeah. Both teams fought the league on it. And they couldn't get anything. The league wasn't listening and said, "No, you got to start selling these. You got to get this done for I'm sure it's for the venue, for that kind of thing. But I don't know why the day that the tickets are. I don't know why that's such a big deal for the league, but it apparently was, and the league forced both teams to start doing it.
Right. Adam, you had a question for Steve?
First of all, Steve, I actually work with a huge Buffalo Bills fan at my grocery store here in North Carolina. So it's like when it comes to the game, when she and her sister and her whole family watching that game versus the Bengals on Monday Night Football, they start crying because they couldn't believe what happened. And it's like, but let's talk about the game. Let's talk about Josh Allen. He had a couple of interceptions on Sunday, and he's gonna have to turn that around against the Bengals. He's gonna have to have a clean game. So do you think do you think it'll be a one-score game on Sunday up in Orchard Park?
I do. I think it's going to be a close game. I think both these clubs are going to come out with the ability to score a lot of points fast. But they also have two really good defenses. They're going to make some plays against them. And I think you're right. The thing that, the Bills were good enough to overcome their mistakes against the Miami Dolphins this last weekend. 3 turnovers. They were up 17-0, and then ended up, actually losing the lead early in the third quarter with a sack strip fumble. The Dolphins rolled the dice a little bit with their game plan. They went man-to-man with 0 safety help and over the top. They brought extra pressure on an enormous percentage of snaps, and they were going to go for broke, and that was their only hope. And certainly it did lead to some Buffalo mistakes, but good enough to overcome their own mistakes and go ahead and score enough points. They're going to score 34 points in the game and win it. So those kind of things the Bills can overcome against a team like Miami. Cincinnati, probably not.
That's right.
They're gonna have to play a much cleaner game against Cincinnati. But the simple fact of the matter is this: when the Bills play their game and they don't make mistakes, you can't beat them. I mean, they're just that out. The Titans found that out. The Rams found that out. When they play their game, they're one of those teams you just can't beat. The question is, can Cincinnati's defense force Josh Allen into some mistakes, and vice versa? The Bills take advantage of Joe Burrow if he makes any mistakes. That's really what this game is going to come down to. I think it will be a very close football game, and I think it's going to be an exciting game to watch. There's a lot of really good players on both these clubs.
Yeah. Well, Steve, the weather might be a factor because it's snow this time of year. And up there in Buffalo, we talked about it a couple of weeks ago with you on, with that big blizzard and everybody was trying to get home and, and you were saying you had to get somebody to plow you out, neighbors and all that stuff. How bad is the snow going to be this Sunday? Because it's going to be 3 o'clock and it's going to snow during the daytime.
Yeah.
Yeah, that might be another issue.
It a chance for some flow. 20, be 25 or push above rain. It'll be snow. You kind of hope play. I don't think the weather at this point will be a huge factor. I think it's going to be okay. I think they'll be fine.
Okay, cool.
And they'll be able to, to function in that as well. So I don't think the weather will be as huge a factor in this game as it might be. Now, certainly it could, but as of right now, it looks like it's going to be very playable.
Okay, good. Hey, Matt, you got a question for Steve Tasker?
Yes, Steve. So since both of these teams have really good defenses, do you think that the first to 20 will win, or do you think that's just going to be a high-scoring game?
I think it might be the first one to 30 or 35 to win. It may be 40. I think these teams are going to be able to score, particularly if like I said, if the weather's okay and there's no wind. Yeah, I think it might turn into a possession game. If each team has 8 to 10 possessions, they're going to score on 4 or 5 of them, 5 or 6 of them. So that's going to be the difference. I think it's going to be a 25 to 35 point game for both these clubs. And the last team with the ball is going to have a chance to win, depending on how much time's left on the clock.
That's what I'm thinking too, Steve. I think it's going to be like the first to 40. I mean, it's going to be, you were mentioning, both these offenses are really, really strong. I mean, look at Joe Burrow. He's always been really good in really big games. You think about what he did in LSU in the national championship game, the national semifinal game, and now here in the NFL, it's like 2 outstanding quarterbacks, and one player is going to have another big game, and that's Gabe Davis. And what he did on Sunday against Dolphins, and Stephon Diggs too. So you think do you think Diggs and Gabe Davis are going to have to have another huge game in order to beat the Bengals on Sunday and sacking Joe Burrow at least 2 to 3 times by the defense?
Well, I think the best players on your team have to play well. No question about it. I mean, Steph Diggs, Josh Allen, Singletons. I think they're going to have to get contribution from everybody. And I think the way that it went against the Dolphins is a precursor to, I think, give us a cold pass here, catching passes that were really crucial in the game. I think it's going to be all hands on deck for these games. For the divisional round, championship, and the Super Bowl, I think you need hands on deck. Those guys have to all show up and play their best. And if somebody's going to come through, and it could be that Gabe Davis only gets 3 targets on the game, but he's got to make the most of those. And same thing, Steph Diggs may get 10 targets. He may get 15 targets. And Khalil Shakir may get 8 targets out of the blue, that kind of thing. But whoever's called upon, and it may be different guys, they all got to step up and be ready. I think these defenses, both these clubs have defenses that are good enough to dictate to each offense, say, listen, Steph Diggs isn't going to beat us, or DeMar Chase isn't going to beat us. Those guys aren't. T. Higgins isn't going to beat us. They can take guys away. One of these defenses can. Can the others step up? Certainly the pass rush is going to be huge for both these clubs. The injuries, the Cincinnati offensive line is going to be an extremely important development during this week. They went through the first 15 regular season games of the season with the same 5 starting offensive linemen. 3 of those guys now are doubtful. Lyle Collins is not coming back. He's out. Kappa may come back with a guard with an ankle. And, of course, Jonah Williams, who dislocated his kneecap on Sunday night's game, is a question mark. If Kappa and or Jonah Williams come back and can play effectively, Cincinnati gets a huge boost from those guys. If they're not there, Joe Burrow's they're gonna have to change their game plan offensively, in my opinion. I think the Bills will be good enough up front to force them into doing something that they wouldn't really otherwise do if their offensive line was healthy.
Exactly. Well, Steve, let me let you go. I appreciate you coming on tonight, and I hope everything goes well in Buffalo, and it'll be a great game. And hopefully we'll have this whole thing taken care of, and and the Bills could probably get to the Super Bowl the first time since you guys were there.
Well, we'll see. It'll be fun to watch. Good luck to you guys. Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it. I enjoyed it.
Go Bills Mafia. Go Bills Mafia.
Go Bills Mafia. All right. See you, Steve.
Thanks, Steve.
Bye. Steve Tasker, the former Bills great and broadcaster, and he was on CBS for a while.
Yes, he was.
Yeah, but I was going to ask him about special teams because I think Jerry Jones tried to call me this morning.
Yeah. That is true.
Did you say Jerry Jones tried to call you?
It's a joke, dude.
Well, yes, I know it's a joke. I know that.
We got to do a shout out, Adam. Somebody we know really well here on our station, a good friend of ours, had his last broadcast for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers last night. Our good friend,
Gene Deckerhoff.
Yeah, Mr. Gene Deckerhoff, who a good friend of this program since day one, and we appreciate his hospitality and I enjoyed meeting him all the time at the ACC kickoff and listening to his stories, and his friend Bud Allman, who is a good friend of ours too, hearing stories. But here is a minute clip of his last home game that he did for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and we just listen to it.
Again. Wow, what a fourth quarter. 30-21 on New Year's Day. How about them Buccaneers point after try? The kick is airborne, and Tampa Bay leads Carolina 31. It's no good. I'm sorry. With a long count. Takes the snap, belt buckle high. Drops to throw, under pressure, flushed out of the pocket. Still, he gets away from the tackle. He keeps stumbling ahead. Dumps the ball off, caught on the left side, outside the numbers to the 40, to the 45, and out of bounds at the 49-yard line. How did Sam Darnold get away from 2 Buccaneers? A linebacker, and that's Devin White, lines up on the edge, maybe coming after the quarterback. And here's Sam Darnold's going to run. Darnold to the 50, tries to run to the sideline, and will stop the clock at the 40-yard line. Right in on the right edge, 3 receivers. The snap to Darnold. Dropping, throwing the pass underneath. Caught ball at the 26-yard line. Here's the spot. The kick is up, and this one is good. Just flirted with that right upright. Rashad White.
Gene Deckenhoff, signing off. That was his last home game. He did last night's debacle between the Dallas Cowboys, and he's off to do whatever he's doing now. I think when I talked to him over the summer, he was going to start doing some traveling with his wife, and and just chilling out and enjoying the rest of his life, because it's pretty cool to get to know somebody like that. Knowing that's the guy who does Buccaneer games and and Florida State football, and don't get me wrong with Jeff Conine, the guy from the new guy for Florida State, good guy, nice guy, but it's hard to replace a legend, when you it's really tough, But hey, Jeff is a good friend of ours, and hopefully we'll have him on next year when the number 13 Florida or number 11 Florida State Seminoles roll into. Hopefully, or maybe a top 5 team by the time.
I believe they will be, Chris. I really do. I really do.
Yeah, top 5 team. Moving in. So next week here on the program, I'm going to try to do something, and I know you guys are probably going to go, why are you going to do this? But I want to try to. Next Tuesday on the program, Matt and I and some other people we know are big Neil Diamond fans. And
I'm a Neil Diamond fan.
Yeah, and Neil Diamond has a birthday next Tuesday on our program, because he's born on the 24th of January. And hold on a second. So, playing a little crack on Cherry there from 1976. If you folks are tuning in tonight, if you want to celebrate Neil's birthday, you can always send us a request or email at LoverTimeRadio@gmail.com. And we'll play your request, and during the show next week, we will play some of the first of his classic hits. So it's going to be a good little birthday surprise for him, because he's in his 80s now.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is, Chris. Yeah.
80s. Good old 80 years old.
Yeah.
Neil has a lot of great hits and songs, and he has a lot of great songs out there.
Well, speaking of Neil, it's fascinating today. I was doing, we do this music history stuff and sports history on our program. On this date in 1966, there was a TV show called The Monkees.
Yeah, there you go.
And it's funny that it just culminates to talk about what Neil Diamond was. Because Neil gave a song "I'm a Believer" to him, and Don Kirshner, who was the Monkees manager, wanted Cherry Cherry, and he told him you can forget about that idea. So here's we got to play the theme song of the Monkees before we get Meghan on here. So here it is.
Here we come, walking down the street. We get funniest looks from everyone we meet. Hey, we're the Monkees, and people say we monkey around, but we're too busy singing to put anybody down. We're just trying to be friendly. I'll come and watch, sing and play. We're the young generation, and we got something to say. Hey, we're the Monkees. You never know where we'll be found, so you better get ready. We may be coming to your town.
That's nice, Chris. That's nice.
It was fascinating, but it was funny when I was doing the research. It tied into the Neil Diamond thing.
Yes, it did. Yeah. It's called. I wonder if Meghan McKeown is a Neil Diamond fan.
Yes. Well, I got to say, my mom got me hooked on Neil Diamond when we were. When I was growing up. She had "Hot August Night," the album, and when you're a little kid, you hear this guy like screaming on the air, on the record. And I'm like, who is this guy? And ever since then, my mom said, like, after that, you just took my records and took everything, and became Procession 9/10 of the Law, I was like, well, it's Neil Diamond. It's Neil. And I saw, and Matt and I saw him in concert. Back in 2002 or something?
That's nice.
Yeah, he played in Philadelphia.
Right?
In fact,
cool.
we were at the beach, and we went literally from the beach. We left that morning or afternoon. I think it was afternoon. We left the beach afternoon, and we went right from there to Philadelphia for the concert. And
cool.
it was great. It was awesome. He's got a lot of wonderful songs. I Said. I mean, it's Sweet Caroline, and it was a great time that we had.
Yeah, so folks, if you're tuning in right now to the Sports Talk here with Chris Heidel, next week is his birthday. So if you folks want to send a birthday request with a song, his classic tunes, we will play like a minute or so, in between our guests next week and, celebrate. I think Neil's like 80-some years old, but the sad thing is he has Parkinson's.
He does.
Oh.
He does.
Yeah.
It's sad. The world no offense, the world needs Neil Diamond.
Amen.
Amen.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and Chris, and also the world needs Meghan McKeown as well. I mean, she does a great job at the Big Ten Network, so I think we should bring in Meghan.
She hasn't logged in yet, so we're waiting for her.
Okay.
So,
okay.
Yeah, so as soon as she pops up on my dashboard, we'll get her on.
Yeah, it's called. For those of you who don't know, Meghan McKeown does an incredible job at the Big Ten Network, ESPN, the Big East Digital Network, award winner, former basketball player at Northwestern. So she's a legend, and the Big Ten women's basketball is incredible. Ohio State's undefeated. I mean, Caitlin Clark at Iowa is incredible. I mean, so it's called. Yeah. It'd be really cool to have Meghan on, to talk some Big Ten women's basketball.
Yeah, Big Ten women's basketball. They got some good teams in there. They got the Lady Terps, who basically, took care of business on Sunday against Rutgers, and now they're going to be on the road this week. Let's see. Did she send me an email? No, she did not. But okay, so next week, that's what's more. Okay, so still waiting for her to respond into us, but that's good. Good to have her. Hopefully, be joining us here on the program. So, also another thing coming up on this date in 1971, Super Bowl V was played down in the Orange Bowl in Miami. And the Baltimore Colts beat the Dallas Cowboys 16-13. Speaking of the Cowboys, Adam, did you know last night that was the first Cowboys road win since 1993?
In 30 years against the Giants at Candlestick Park when Steve Young was quarterback of the Niners, and some guy named Troy Aikman was the
booth last night. He must have been like, wow, that's pretty cool.
When I heard that statistic last night, I was shocked to hear that they haven't won a playoff game since '92. I mean, I thought that they definitely won a playoff game sometime before '92. But I mean, I was just shocked to hear that.
So here's some classic from NBC Sports back in the 70s. Look at it. It was called the Turnover Bowl in Super Bowl V because the Colts and Cowboys threw like 5 interceptions. There's Earl Morrall who took over for Johnny U. After Johnny U got injured, and he was the guy who was in Super Bowl III that basically said he will go for a fake flea flicker that basically cost the Colts the game because got intercepted by the Jets. So so we're waiting for Meghan to join us here. I know she's a pretty busy lady. It's really nice to have her on. If not, we'll try to get her on her another time. It's not a big deal. I know she's.
That's true. That is true.
We're not like ESPN. You got to come on and we're gonna put you on a list like some people do.
That's That's true, Chris.
Yeah. So anyway, I have a clip I found yesterday. The Orioles had a press conference about Martin Luther King Day, and they were, giving money to the College Board. And John Angelos was there, one of the CEOs of the Orioles. Dan Connolly will join us next week. We'll talk to him about him. He asked him this question, and I want people to listen to this. Does this sound like something like, they might be going somewhere? because it sounds really strange. Yeah, so let's play it real quick. It's only a minute 30. All right, so here it is.
So I just think, are you from here?
Yes, I am.
Okay, I just think that we all ought to have a little perspective on what's important in the world. And what's important in the world is what we're talking about, what you're talking about. You can find any garden variety, high value sports team or involvement. You're always going to have some controversy. But I've been very outspoken. I'm very transparent. In fact, I would invite you and all your colleagues next week, not on Martin Luther King Day. You can come back to this building. You can meet me in this office. I'll take you down on the 3rd floor, and I'll show you the financials of the Orioles. I'll show you the governance of the Orioles. I'll show you everything you want to know, and I'll put all your questions. But today, on MLK Day, I'm not answering any of those questions.
Okay, well, let me just respond very quickly and say
No, I don't want you to respond. I'm not going to entertain those questions on Martin Luther King Jr. Day.
Which is the day that you set up for us to talk to you. This is the second time that we have spoken to you in 4 years. Openly.
Let's take another question.
So
let's take another.
And let me
let's
finish.
take another question.
Let me ask one more question here.
No, I'm not going to let you ask any more questions because it's highly inappropriate on the day on Martin Luther King Jr. Day.
I'm going to actually limit it to just 2 more questions so the mayor can make his next obligation. But please continue.
You really get some perspective on life, okay? Really.
I can't.
What do you think about that?
Whoa.
Yeah.
All I gotta say is whoa.
Yeah, whoa.
That's crazy.
I heard that today, and that was reported by our good friend who was on our Colin Newcomb, who was on our show last week.
Oh yeah, Connor Newcomb, yeah.
Yeah, but I was like, okay, you asked for a press conference on Martin Luther King's birthday, knowing that you don't talk to the media that much. And what were you expecting? What were you expecting? The media is going to say something different when you dodge the media a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, come on, it's like, give me a break, people. Seriously. Yeah,
Thank
yes.
you.
Was it the wrong time to ask? Maybe.
Yeah.
But Dan Connolly was just doing his job.
True.
As a reporter, and he was trying to get some answers because nobody has heard anything since that story broke during the summertime about the Angelos being one of them getting sued, and the other one's thinking about moving the team to Nashville.
Yeah.
And if they move to Nashville, this town is done.
True.
Baltimore is done. Yeah, because I wasn't around in 1984 when the Colts left town, but I heard stories about the Colts leaving town, how this town, these people in this town were devastated. They were like, they lost it was like almost like losing a child.
Yeah. I mean, you think about the history with the Baltimore Orioles, Chris, you go back to when Kyle Ripken broke the record for most most consecutive games, and Earl Weaver, and it's like, there's so much history, with the Baltimore Orioles up there, Camden Yards. I mean, it would be sad if the Orioles left. I mean, it's like,
yeah, it would be sad.
It would be because it wouldn't be the same. It'd be mean.
With all the greats here, you had Brooks, Frank, Cal, Earl. People who like the Orioles were literally back from 66 to 1985 was the standard of franchise in baseball.
True.
They were first, second place. They were playing for playoffs. They went to the World Series and lost in '69 to the greatest team of they ever lived, the New York Mets. And the Mets who basically were down 1-0, and they came back and stormed back and beat them. And then the next year, the Orioles came back and won the World Series in '70. So if they beat the Mets in '69, they would have had a dynasty going.
True.
The following year, they played Oakland, and they beat Oakland. Then they played the Pirates again in '71. So the first from '69, '70 to '71 was all Orioles in the World Series.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Well, and then they also had the legend Jim Palmer.
Yeah, Jim Palmer.
That is true, man. Jim Palmer.
Was a very I'm going to say a great man who basically gave us an opportunity because we were at the time, Matt, were you there when we did the pilot episode at WAMD?
I might have been.
Yeah, remember we had Jim Palmer on, Adam.
Cool.
And it was a pilot episode, and Jim Palmer made time to call into us and did this show for us. It never aired.
Wow.
Yeah. And he's such a nice guy. And when I saw him a couple of weeks later, and I said, thank you very much. And I introduced him who I was. And he goes, anytime you need something, just let me know.
That's nice. That's nice,
Yeah.
Chris.
And I have a lot of respect for the guy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. He was an Oriole. To me, I'm a Met since I was a kid.
Oh, I know.
Yeah. My heroes were Gary Carter, Darryl Strawberry, the doctor, Keith Hernandez,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But I respect the Orioles.
Mookie Wilson.
And Mookie Wilson. I respect the Orioles from the 70s, and to 1983, and then they had a down year. So anyway, so that's a weird interview yesterday. And it's been blowing up around here, Matt, on social media about that. About that interview.
Yeah, and if the Orioles do go out and like if they take the team somewhere to another state,
not going to do it. Major League Baseball's not going to allow it because you have a nice ballpark in Camden Yards, and any team that looking for a place to come will snoop up Camden Yards real quick.
True, that's true.
When they've got a beautiful ballpark.
Yeah, it's been the standard of Major League Baseball since it came in 1992.
Yeah.
Yep, it is, and I mean, if they did leave, I'm just saying that would just like lose a lot of revenue with the hotels, the restaurants, and the people that come in from the different teams, the tourists that come there and like tour the city and stuff. It would lose a lot of money. So I mean, So I mean, I hope they don't leave because I mean, I do like seeing the Orioles and then playing the other teams and stuff, and some other teams come in and everything, and so I hope they do stay.
Yeah, well, we'll try to get Meghan on another time. I guess she got stuck doing something, and I didn't get an email from her, but it's okay. We'll get her on another time, Adam. You and I will.
Yeah.
That's why we love this show. We can actually move people to different Tuesdays. It's not like we need to have them on tonight, or else our world's going to cave in, and we're not going to go to work tomorrow. So let's switch gears a little bit. Let's talk about some minor league hockey. The South Carolina Stingrays are the affiliate of the Washington Capitals, and let's bring in their broadcaster Cody Lefowitz, who does a great job down in South Carolina, in Charleston, South Carolina. So, hey Cody, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Doing great. Thanks for coming back on. We haven't had you on in a year and a half or so. I think.
Yeah, just about. I think beginning of last year I was on, so been a little busy.
Yeah. Hey, I've been trying to do is I'm not trying to get everybody the same people on every 2 weeks because as a broadcaster you want to keep it very nice and perfect. So people are like, oh, I already had that guy on last week. Why do you want to talk to him again? Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out new stuff to talk about each time that I'm interviewing a player and being like, okay, I interviewed you 2 games ago. I know that you're still on an 11-game point streak, but I gotta find something.
Exactly. Yeah, we were just talking about that clip we just had from I found on about the Angelos people, and that doesn't sound real good. If you have a press conference and you basically told a reporter why you're asking those questions, it's like you're in the media, you have to ask those questions no matter what.
Yep, and I'll always preface it as I don't want to, but just know that this is going to be asked, and then I'll go into an interview because there is due diligence at times that you have to go into.
Yeah, exactly. So let's talk about these Stingrays. How are you guys doing right now?
We're great. We're, in terms of win percentage, second team in the Eastern Conference, top in the South Division. I think we're a point back of the Florida Everblades, who won the Kelly Cup last year. But we've got 2 games in hand on them, and really the least amount of games scored in the entire league. We've got one of the top goal scorers, one of the top goaltenders, Clay Stevenson on a Washington contract. Down with us starting in about late October, early November, and I mean he's been dynamite. He's a guy that I put it on a tweet I think maybe a month ago after he posted his first shutout was you look at a lot of these guys who have come through the organization from our level and Hershey and even Washington, and especially some of the undrafted guys that have come through. You look at Logan Thompson, who is an all-star this year with the Vegas Golden Knights. Hunter Shepard was goaltender of the month in the AHL, I think it was for November. And Clay Stevenson, is second best save percentage in the ECHL. So it's just people are amazing. Goaltenders are amazing. And Washington's done nothing but superb things and helped us out so much.
That's true. Yeah, exactly. And plus, you guys are in the East Coast Hockey League, so you got to bring people who from Hershey to come down to play for you guys if they get demoted. You could bring people back up to Hershey because the Hershey's a AAA affiliate of the Capitals.
Yeah, we've had Clay Stevenson got to go up this year, obviously on a contract with Washington, though. We've had a bunch of defensemen. Michael Kim is on a contract with Hershey. He's a really good guy who I think doesn't get a lot of talk, and he's an outstanding defenseman. Martin Hash got recalled this year. Alex Fortin, former NHLer with the Chicago Blackhawks, who I got to see being from Chicago, so that was kind of cool seeing him on the team. But yeah, there's a lot of guys. Hershey and Washington again are phenomenal, not only at making themselves good, because when you look at it, Washington went on a deep run in December, moved themselves back into a playoff position, and then Hershey's the best team in the AHL. So top to bottom right now, the organization's doing fantastic.
And you got a question for
did you ever think, 15, 20 years ago that you would see hockey being played in South Carolina or up here in North Carolina? I mean, it's crazy to see, warm weather states are hockey states. North Carolina, South Carolina, you used to have the Atlanta Thrashers in Georgia, Florida. I mean, did you ever think you'd see hockey?
I mean, 20 years ago, 20 years ago, I was 8 years old, so I don't think I was thinking too much. But again, being from Chicago, I didn't think too much about it. It was just there was hockey, and we have a family friend who's from Raleigh. He's from Lake Forest area, and when the Hurricanes went on their run towards a Stanley Cup, what was that, 10, 15, 20 years ago? I don't even remember. He was talking about it, and that was really my first inkling of what is hockey. Actually, was to the Hurricanes. So that's kind of funny. And now that I moved down here, and I've had the honor of interviewing a bunch of guys that have come through. Our president, Rob Concannon, is a lifelong Stingrays fan, and there's nothing you could ever do about it. Played for the organization, won a Kelly Cup. I've talked with him. I've talked with Brett Marietti, Dave Seitz, and all these guys who are from the North. And I've asked them that question. I said, hey, what was your first inkling when you heard, hey, you're going to Charleston, South Carolina? And they all said, where? What do you mean there's hockey in the South? And they got here and they fell in love. And I'll always remember when I was with my last team, our president played in Hershey, and we were affiliated with Hershey still. And he said a bunch of guys used to go down to Charleston, and then they would get brought back up to Hershey. And they said, I don't want to go. It's okay. I'm going to stay in Charleston. So gorgeous city, gorgeous town. But yeah, it's the Tampa Bay Lightning winning a couple, the Florida Panthers being on the rise. It's the South is starting to become a hockey hotbed for sure.
That's true. Well, you guys got a home game coming up on this week on Friday against Jacksonville. So there's another another team in Florida. You never think back in the day when we were kids growing up, there's teams in Florida and Texas, and so you got a team in Jacksonville. So real quick, what do you think about the Icemen, and what do you got to do to hopefully the Stingrays could control some ice on them?
Yeah, it's we haven't played Jacksonville in probably about a month and a half, 2 months. I think it was early December. We played them last, and they're a good team. They're a solid team. They've brought some big guys back. Craig Martin's with the team. He was started the season overseas. Christopher Brown's the captain. Played last year in Hershey for a little bit. And we get to see him twice this week. Actually, we go there on Friday. They come to us on Sunday, and we see Atlanta in between. So it's going to be a good team. Their goaltenders are pretty good. But we took them out a couple times early this season, and our team's clicking. I mentioned it. We've got the top goal scorer in the league, and Bear Hughes in his rookie year is 35 points. Just played in the All-Star game last night. So we've got some pretty good pieces and a pretty good team. Coach Kotick's done a wonderful job. Him and assistant coach Ryan Bork have been phenomenal this year.
That's cool. Well, Cody, we got to cut this short because we got somebody coming on. We got a lot of people on the show, but we'd love to have you back on, another time down the road, and we'll talk more and about Stingrays hockey. Stingrays hockey. Is that cool?
Yeah, absolutely. Let me know. Love to be on.
All right, buddy. Thank you so much. Okay, talk to you soon.
Thank you.
I see it. Bye.
Bye.
All right, that's Cody Lexowitz, who is the voice of the Stinger Anchor, because the reason we had to cut that short, we have a very nice young lady who does a great job broadcasting for the Big Ten Network, does a fantastic job of the women's basketball. Even she does a good job for the men's side, too. So let's bring in.
It does, Chris.
So, Adam, go ahead.
Our next guest is one of the best at the Big Ten Network. She's a reporter during football. You catch her during basketball season. She's a former player at Northwestern University. So let's bring in the one and only Miss Meghan McKeown.
Hi, Meghan. How you doing?
Hey, guys. I'm good. How are you doing?
Thank you so
much. Doing good, Meghan.
Thanks for coming on the program. I haven't had you on the video side. I had you on the audio side like 3 years ago. I was going through my archives. I'm like, I haven't had her on in a while. Let's see if we get her on. Because I know the last time we talked to you was during the Big Ten women's tournament, and that was like 3 years ago.
Isn't that crazy how time flies? But yeah, we were like in full blown, like the world was still with COVID, and we were still having to adjust to sports in that time. But now we're back to our new normal, and we're at it again. So happy to be on. Thanks, guys.
Well, so let's talk about Northwestern, the men's side. I got an email this morning. They had to cancel their game against Iowa for COVID-19.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wait a minute. Like, did we just have this like a couple of years ago? And then I'm like, and I know there's something's going out there with a different variant and all that stuff, but is that something we need to watch?
Yeah, it's weird. It's one of the few COVID cancellations I feel like we've seen so far this year.
Yeah.
Or that it's nothing, they'll be able to reschedule the game. The men, have their tournaments a week after the women. So they do have, even though they play 20 games, they do have an extra, potentially they might be able to squeeze in 3 games a week or something to try to make it up. So that's just still a weird time we're living in.
Exactly. Adam, you had a question for
me? First of all, let's talk about a lady in Iowa City, Iowa, Meghan, a lady who you've seen probably in person. She's phenomenal. She's one of the best in women's college basketball, and that's Caitlin Clark from Iowa. What can you say? She's phenomenal, amazing, and is she one of the top 10 women's players to you that you've covered in history?
That's a great question. And, all the words you just used to describe her, I think, are spot on. She's kind of one of a kind in a sense. And, I've been doing this not too long, so I don't know if I can name my top 10 players quite yet, but
at least top 5. Since.
Yes, absolutely. I think in the history, hopefully I have a long career. We'll see what happens. But I think
you will, Meghan. You will.
I appreciate that, but I think in the history, in the long run, she's going to go down 100%. In the top 2 or 3 that you see. Caitlin Clark's so exciting to watch.
Yes.
Her offense, she's a great scorer, and that's why she grabs a lot of headlines. Her ability to score in bunches, but I think she's elite because of her passing ability and her facilitating, her vision. She understands where to get the ball to her teammates in positions to score, when to do it, how to do it. Just an unbelievable feel for the game that I think is, not something you see every single day on the men's or women's side for that matter. She's fun to watch too. She's passionate. She plays with a ton of fire. She cares. It's wonderful that, the world is kind of watching her and taking notice. She's got a lot of fans in the NBA. Kevin Durant's tweeting at her. I know LeBron James, I think, has talked to her a couple of times. So it's really cool to see how she's really kind of etched women's basketball and put it on the map.
That's true. Yeah. And like the women's game is getting a lot popular now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's like if you look back in the years, when I was growing up, it's like, people didn't realize there was women's basketball. Now it's like neck and neck, like you got men's and women's, and you can't keep them apart sometimes, because if you look at the real standings, you see Ohio State, you're like, oh, is that the men's team? No, they're doing great on the women's side, because you don't really think Ohio State women's basketball are going to be that dominant, the men's side of, for basketball or football or whatever sport in the Big Ten.
You know, it's funny. Ohio State actually women's basketball has been really dominant, like over the course of history. But to that point, like the Big Ten Network tweeted out like last week, my power rankings for women's basketball, and I had all these people mad at me because I thought it was men's basketball. But to your point, right? It's starting to be hard to distinguish, and I'm like, hey, just if you read a little closer, you'll see that it's a women's basketball graphic. But it's a good problem to have. You know, I think it's really interesting too with the landscape of NIL. How it's really benefited women's basketball specifically. Social media wise, the numbers are really high for a lot of women's basketball players. I'm thinking of, you know, Paige Beckers, Haley Van Lith at Louisville, Caitlin Clark at Iowa. There's so many opportunities out there through NIL, and I think it's helping put eyeballs on the women's game. So it's been a positive thing.
Yeah.
Rita Ionescu, when she was at Oregon, Meghan, I mean, it was like, I mean, you think about where women's basketball is now. You have so many great TV deals. You at the Big Ten Network, ESPN, you know, has wall-to-wall coverage of the NCAA women's basketball tournament every single year. You know, the selection show. You've got, I mean, the WNIT. I mean, it's like, to me, women's basketball has changed, you know, in 20, 30 years. I mean, look at the WNBA. I mean, it's amazing where women's basketball has come from the last 15, 20 years. I mean, I always love watching women's basketball, especially from the Big Ten Network here in North Carolina.
There we go. We love all of our viewers, especially the ones in North Carolina. I've got family there, so we
cool
viewership up in that state. That being said, you know, I've been in women's basketball my whole life. My dad is the head coach at Northwestern, but he was at George Washington beforehand. So growing up, women's basketball was the most exciting thing in the whole entire universe. And so I'm just glad that people are now starting to take notice and agree with me.
Yeah,
I'll agree with you. Trust me, I'll agree with you, Meghan. 100%.
Well, let's talk. We're here in Maryland, Matt and I. Let's talk about Brenda Fries and the Terrapins, because they seem the Lady Terps. They seem like they're always at the top of the the standings, and they got to get over that hump, because I feel like when they get to the Big Ten tournament, they can win it, and then when they get to the NCAA tournament, they run into like Texas or UCLA or Louisville or whoever. So, do they have a team this year that can actually get over the hump to actually bring something back to College Park they haven't had in a while?
Maryland has so much talent that I think any given night they can compete with anybody, which not every single team can say by any means in the Big Ten. At the end of the day, it's not that Maryland hasn't, done this or that. It's the fact that everyone around them is good. Like the Big Ten is one of, if not the best conference in the country, because everybody just beats the crap out of each other. And it's similar on the men's side. Everyone from top to bottom, you're beating each other. So the women's talent right now is about as good as it gets. And Maryland specifically, it's such an interesting time in college basketball because of the transfer portal and NIL, as we touched on earlier. The transfer portal allows, coaches to kind of build super teams almost. And it also allows them to, have a bigger array to pick from, and they're not exactly sure what they're getting because there's not a ton of time to really recruit these kids because you're getting snatched up so quickly. So by the time they get on campus, it's kind of like, hey, do I really know what I'm getting and how they're going to fit into my system? So I think we're seeing some teams like Illinois on the women's side who have been incredible this season, the biggest surprise in obviously all of college basketball. And Shauna Green, who's done a fantastic job, has been able to go into the portal and get great talent, and they've been able to mesh quickly. And you look at Maryland, who also, only has 3 players who came back from a season ago that played significant minutes, and she had to go into the portal. Coach Fries did, and she got great talent. Abby Myers was the Ivy League Player of the Year. Lavender Briggs, played at Florida beforehand and was one of the top players in the SEC. So she's been able to bring a couple of different pieces, and they're starting to come together. It took a little bit of time, but look, the portal is going to be interesting over the course of the next couple of years and how college basketball adjusts, simply because it's a different style of recruiting, putting together your roster. It's just a wild time we're seeing right now.
Exactly. Well, Meghan, we'd love to have you back on, down the road when we get to tournament time, because it's not even tournament time. It's still January.
No, every day feels like a tournament, man, whenever you're watching big basketball.
Yeah, maybe Matt, my buddy Matt and I might make a trip to Minnesota, because I've never been to Minnesota before, but I heard it's pretty cold. Yeah,
cold.
Yeah, but we'd love to have you on down the road. If you're available on a Tuesday again, like tonight, we appreciate having you on. And we're gonna go talk to a youth bowler who does really
Have fun. Thanks,
yeah.
guys. Talk to y'all soon.
All right, Meghan. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Megan.
Bye.
Yeah.
Thanks, Megan.
All right, that's Meghan McKeown, who is a reporter for the Big Ten Network. She does a fantastic job on the women's side. We'll get her on another time. She forgot what time zone she was in.
Yeah, that happens.
It happens. It happens. Yeah, we do the best we can here. Yeah,
Yes.
I still don't know what time it is when I go to work at 4 in the morning. You get up at 4 in the morning, at 6, and then I come home. I feel like I'm in California for the whole day.
Oh,
Well, Chris, you know what time it is when you go to work and your supervisor says you're late.
Well, if you're at Home Depot, you have 7 minutes before you punch in. I'm like, okay, that's fine with me. So anyway, let's bring in. We found this. I was doing some research a couple weeks ago. The Team USA had their time trials out in Las Vegas, and our friend Kyle Troup was out there as well. And they had a lot of youth bowlers, young bowlers under age of 18 and 20. And this gentleman actually qualified to join junior Team USA, right, Adam?
Yes, he did. And it's called that lineup is solid.
And he's also going to school where a Parker Bowden's son is going to go to school. In
Brandon. Yep.
A little college in middle of Iowa.
Yep.
That's a good way to get away from people. Yeah, just go to a little college in Iowa and they don't know who you are. So let's bring in Adam, you go ahead. You want to bring in?
Sure. It's called Our Next Guest. You mentioned Junior Team USA. It's called It Stoked. It has Ryan Barnes, Spencer Robarge, Brandon Bone, and this guest from Maryland, Andru Blaney. So, Andru, thanks so much for joining us tonight. And what's it like to bowl against, Ryan Barnes, whose father is a Hall of Famer, and Brandon Bone, whose father is a Hall of Famer, and Spencer Robarge, who has made TV. What's that like?
It's a pretty good experience. You get to learn a lot of things from talking with different people that have that knowledge around them. So it's a really good experience to be able to just meet new people like that and bowl with them.
Yeah. Do you get a chance to talk to all the pros besides Chris Barnes? Like Kyle Troup and.
Yeah. So at the tournament, you would cross through different pairs depending on the games and stuff, and sometimes you cross with a pro bowler. So yeah, and you could talk to them and stuff if they're willing to.
Nice. So you're a two-handed bowler. So how did you start doing two-handed? Did you watch some guy from down under, Jason Belmonte, or how did you start?
So the story behind this is my sister's godparent. His name's Matt, and he used to come back and bowl one-handed basically, but it looked like it was two in my eyes. And I told my dad I wanted to bowl like him, and so I went out and just started bowling two-handed. And at one time when I saw Jason Belmonte on TV, I told my dad, I was like, "Hey, Dad, he bowls like me." And my dad was like, "No, you bowl like him."
because Adam, Matt, and I are old school one-handed bowlers. Because we grew up watching, the old school bowlers like Chris Barnes and Pete Weber and all those people, and watching two-handed. And to me, it's like I used to goof off and rock and bowl when I did that. Having a good time. But is it hard to try to when you have two-handed and because normally when you put your hand in the ball, do you put your fingers in the ball in the hole, or you put it outside? Because some bowlers.
So I go in to the first joint of your fingers.
Okay, all right. So you have something in there with your hand, with your Because some bowlers I know can just cuff it, and just do it the old. I think Kyle puts the fingers in the thumb hole.
Yeah, he does, Chris. He does.
But I don't know about Jason. Does Jason do the same thing?
Yeah, he puts.
He does. Okay. Yeah, but so has that been pretty cool? Have you ever met him?
Yeah, I have. I've met him a couple times.
That's cool. Nice. Thanks. He seems like a cool guy. Yeah. So you're off to a small little college next year.
Yes.
How did you find this small little college? Because I was looking on the map going, Oh, it's Iowa. Okay, it's like a Big Ten school. Okay, and it's like, but you have somebody you're on your bowling team with who is out there, who was there in Vegas, one of Parker Bones' sons. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So there's this tournament for like all youth out in the summers that's at different states depending on the year, and that a lot of college coaches can come out there and they have like a booth set up and everything, and you can go like tour that and like meet them and get your name out there, and then they'll come watch you and stuff, and then you can like start that process. So it's really unique.
Oh, okay, so it's almost like the bowling's version of recruiting for football.
Yes.
Okay, cool. Nice. Adam, you got a question for Andru?
Yeah. Now, Andru, is there a Pro Bowler that you would love to bowl against that you haven't yet? Maybe like AJ Johnson or EJ Tackett. And how did you get your start bowling on? Did you watch the PVA tour and say, "Hey, I want to be like Kyle Troup. I want to be like Jason Belmonte or EJ Tackett"? Is that how you got your start?
So a bowler I would actually like to bowl against as pro would be Jason Belmonte. I bowled with him like in like a camp when I was really younger, but I've never like bowled against him in like a tournament. And the way I got into bowling was through my parents. I basically grew up in the bowling alley from watching them bowling and just going all the time, and I just like fell in love with it.
That's cool. That's awesome. Yeah, and your parents and your dad helps you out a lot, right? Your father, Bill, does a good job helping you, get everything organized, right?
Yes, my dad does a lot for me with bowling.
That's cool. So was he the one who turned you on to bowling, or was it one of your, like you said, like, I think you said one of your cousins, or was he one day say, "Hey son, you want to come to the bowling alley with me?" Yeah, I know you don't want to, you're my babysitter, So what did you?
I just like all the memories being in the bowling alley when I was really young.
Okay.
Just kind of influenced it, I believe. Yeah.
Matt, you got a question for Andru? Go ahead.
Yes, I do actually have two questions. First question is, how did you get interested in bowling? Is the first question, and then the second question is, what are the difficulties and challenges to bowling with two hands in comparison to just one hand?
Okay, so getting into bowling was really just through my parents, and getting like two differences between like two-handed and one-handed. I feel like two-handed has a lot of like, I mean, there's both a lot of physical issues involved with it. So one-handers, I'm not as much familiar with, but I know with two-handers, I tend to have a lot of issues with timing, and because if that's not there, your release won't be as consistent. But with one-handers, I know there's still timing issues. I just don't know how much of a impact because I don't throw it one-handed. So
yeah.
And then just one last question. What's your goal for the next year in bowling?
Okay, so my next goal for the year is to improve. I want to be able to get much better at a state mentally when I'm bowling. That's a huge goal. I want to also be able to be at a point where I can turn my bad days better, and I think that's just the starting goal. And then I eventually want to go out like this summer again at the Junior Gold and make Team USA and stuff again, hopefully.
Oh, that's cool. Awesome. Hey, real quick before we let you go, with all these spares, what single pin is hard for you with the two-handed?
So I wouldn't say single pin, but my worst like cluster of spares, I guess you can call it, is anything with the 3, 6, 9, and 10.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is it because why is that? Because you put too much speed on it, thinking like it's easy, or you just lose focus?
My ball, I don't know. I like to miss it either really right and leave the 3 pin only, or I'll just take the 3 off only.
Okay. That's cool. Nice. Well, Andru, thank you so much for coming on tonight. It's really a pleasure to have somebody who doing well in youth bowling around here in the state of Maryland. And I know you probably talked to Danny Wiseman, who I guess he
actually coached me for a while.
Oh, nice.
Nice.
Cool.
Very nice.
Yeah, Danny's a good friend of ours here on the program. So I know he's not here in Maryland anymore. He's down in Florida, but
Yep.
you know, it's yeah, he's still watching. Does he still call you and check in with you and see how you're doing?
It's been yeah, we check in every now and then. So
Okay, that's cool. Nice. Yeah, that's awesome. What I'll do is I'll send this to him. I have his email, so I'll send it to him so he can watch it. You know, so he can see this interview.
Yeah.
So, thank you so much for coming on, and good luck with this year and your goals. And hopefully we'll see you maybe one day on Fox. You never know.
Yeah. Well, thank you for having me. I really appreciate
Yes,
it.
sir. Yes, sir.
All right, Andrew. Have a good one.
All right, bye.
All right, man. See ya.
Mm-hmm.
All right, there he goes. Gone. Young
Yeah.
kids, you know, we take a long time getting log off. You just go, boom.
I think we'll see Andru Blaney on Fox one day, Chris. I mean, from everything that he said, it's like called. I think he wants to be the bowler on the PBA tour someday, and I believe he will. It's called.
Yeah, he's like 18 years old, and he sounds like he's been on the tour for like 15 years.
Yeah,
you know,
I mean,
like, you know, he needs to work better, get his spare shooting done. Yeah, you gotta make the spares. That's
of course.
That's the
Yeah,
you know.
Well, yeah, you gotta make their spares because I know the pin that when I bowled I did not like the most was the 10 pin. That was the pin that gave me the most trouble. Every time I left, you know what really got to me, I buried it right in the pocket and I left that solid 10. I was like, you know what? Kind of just throw another pin down there so I can knock down that pin that I can get a strike. So, but that 10 pin, it for some reason, and I think it was more mental than anything, but it just was a toughest pin for me to get a spare. I would take any other pin on that rack except for the 10 pin.
Well, I used to do the 10 pin and the 9 pin. And the 7 pin. Used to throw it fast because you on TV. You saw, you know, Brian Voss do it, or Pete Weber, and if they have to try to do the 7-10 split, you know, I actually made it once, Adam.
No, nice.
Yeah, I actually did the old John Mazda way.
Oh, okay.
But the
nice.
the right-handed version, not the left-handed version. You know,
okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
So it was pretty cool. And then somebody thought I was cheating that day. I'm like, how can I be cheating if I bounced the pin out of the rack?
I didn't cheat.
Really? They did?
Yeah, a part of steel. They thought I was cheating. I'm like, how can I cheat when I bounced the pin out of the
No, I mean, you think
really?
that ain't cheating? It's called that ain't cheating. No way.
No, I don't even have a delivery. I have the Mark Rolfe style. You know, like I just get up there and chuck it. And we had and Matt was there for the pro-am, right? Were you there for the pro-am?
Yes, I was. Yep.
And Walter, I'll try to get Walter on the show down the road here, see how he's doing. And Walter looked at me and goes, "Man, that's the loudest strike I ever heard in a while." I'm like, "Really?" He's like, "Yeah, because I used to just, dude, when you feel it when it comes off the hand, off the ball, you know it's a strike."
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because it just feels just right, you know.
Yes. Yeah. Yep. And well, when that's the thing with bowling, you sometimes have that feeling of, hey, you know what? This is going to be a flush strike. You know, it's going to be a great strike right in the pocket, and you can just feel the strikes. So, of course, sometimes you get in the pocket and you get that lazy 10 pin, and you're like, dang on it, why couldn't that 10 pin fall? But I mean, you just got that feeling, and it's great when you just get in a groove and just get a strike after strike after strike. So yeah.
Yeah, I used to run them out like Albie did, you know. Like,
oh yeah.
Yeah.
Whoever it's called. Actually, when I go bowling, it's called. Sometimes I'll run it out, and it's like, you watch it for so long, it's like, you know.
And nothing against Kyle. Kyle does a great job being a show.
Oh yeah, of course.
But I feel like Matt and I and you and I used to watch when bowling was king on ABC, and they sold bowling like it was great. You know, like Mike Albee running them out, you know, getting a strike. You know, Pete Weber, you know, fisting his fist up and like that. You know, I thought that as a kid, I thought it was great to see that because
I loved it.
Oh yes. And the thing with Pete Weber is that he showed so much emotion with every strike, and he even if he didn't get a strike, he would show emotion. I mean, it was just like he was very animated, which is good. I mean, that's a good thing and stuff. And so, Yeah, I mean the fans loved it. I mean he got the fans into the games as well.
Yeah, and he was just a great all around bowler.
Oh yeah.
He's like when you're a kid growing up, that's what you're watching. Speaking of bowling, I found out this today. 2 bowlers were selected to be part of the United States Bowling Congress Hall of Fame. I think one of them was on the women's tour.
Deandra Aspady from Chicago, and then Dave Ferraro. It's like, I mean, I remember when Dave Ferraro was on TV. I remember So I remember when Dave Ferraro was on TV. I mean, he was like, I mean, I'll never forget.
Yeah, look at that.
That was
New York. Yeah, look at that.
Look at that. There we go. P. Weber.
No, that was actually Dave Ferraro.
Oh, pardon me.
Yeah,
I take that back.
Dave Ferraro.
Yeah, Dave Ferraro. He was actually one of those like under like you got Brian Voss, you got Pete Weber, Mike Albee. He was like the second tier type bowler.
Yeah, mm-hmm. Yeah, Dave. Oh yeah.
And to me, it's just it's great. It's awesome that he did that. Folks, thanks for joining us here. It's 8:20 here on a Tuesday night, and if you are just logging in, thanks for stopping by this evening and checking us out. If you are on the program next Tuesday, we're trying to celebrate Neil Diamond's birthday next Tuesday. It's January 24th, and we're going to be like Casey Kasem here. We're going to take your request.
Love it.
Sweet Caroline.
Yeah, and we're just going to play maybe a minute of those classic tunes, on our in between interviews, because that's what we try to do here on the program. So that's next Tuesday night. You can email us after the show at hermanfmradio@gmail.com. Next week on the program, we'll be back here on January 24th. We'll get ourselves ready for probably the United States Open. That's one of those bowling tournaments is getting ready to kick off in beautiful Indianapolis, Indiana. That's going to be a great tour spot. And what's the name? Sonicson is the defending champ.
Anthony Simonson.
Yeah. So he's a defending champion. So it's next week. Starts on January 29th of the United States Open, and this is actually a really well-known bowling center because this is where, if you want to talk to Pete, this is where Pete broke the trophy.
1991 U.S. Open.
Yep. Yeah, he held the trophy up and
so
the eagle flew and it crashed to the ground.
Well,
it flew off that podium and went boom.
Yep.
Before we bring in Mike in here, I talked to Nelson Bergen Jr. over the phone a couple years ago, and Nelson made an accusation that he played around with it before the telecast, looking at it, and it was loose, and he didn't tell anybody because he felt that it was bad to tell somebody. And Pete was so excited that he got it, picked it up and put it over his head, and all of a sudden it started cracking, and all of a sudden, boom, right down to the ground, right on the lanes, and you see Krashenko going, like yeah. But it's really cool. So that was we'll try to get ourselves. I guess next week we'll start getting some more bowlers on. Maybe we try to get some. Maybe we try to get Anthony Simonson on. I know he's a hard guy to get. Maybe, or we might get. We'll try to get. Our friend Rob Stone on.
Sure.
Maybe we'll get him on.
Of course.
Yeah, or maybe our good friend Dave Ryan, who was just here over the weekend. He was in Towson.
Yes, he was.
Yeah, and I was going to go to the game, but I got sidetracked. I forgot what game it was. I had stuff to do right here. So anyway, let's bring in this gentleman. Mount St. Mary's ice hockey had a big game this weekend against Calvert Hall in ice hockey. So if you are looking for some great games, great local hockey action, sounds like I think that's Mike. Yeah, let's just bring in Mike. Yeah, let's bring in Mike first. Oh, okay, we got too many people at the same time here. Let's bring in Brandon, and then we'll bring in Mike because Brandon was supposed to be on at 8:25. We'll just tell Mike we'll be back with him shortly. Okay, so hold on here. So let's bring in Brandon because Brandon logged in. He's first, and then I'll. Yeah, hi Brandon, how you doing?
Hey, Chris, how you doing?
Thank you so much. We got people logging at the same time, and I'm like, it's like Hollywood Squares here. So talk about this new team in Frederick. They're playing at Harry Grove Stadium. The spring, you were part of the Keys with the draft league thing. Now they're going to have a Atlantic League team. So how in the world are they going to have two teams in the same place?
Correct. This is the next turn in the storied history of minor league baseball and professional baseball in Frederick. So the Keys are still going to remain part of the Major League Baseball Draft League, and we'll play home 40 games in Harry Grove, Nimio Field at Harry Grove Stadium. They'll begin in June, so run through September, just like the last couple years. 40 home games. And then we have an additional team that our owners have purchased and partnered with the Atlantic League, Professional Baseball League, a second chance league that's an MLB partner league. The team is yet to be named. We're actually hosting a Name the Team promotion as we speak. So everyone go on to frederickatlanticleague.com, enter a team name and concept and why it's relevant to this region and area. And we'll make a short selection, narrowed down to about 5, and have a public vote and kind of see what the favorite is and see what turn we take with the new team. But we're excited to be part of the Atlantic League Professional Baseball League. It's their 25th season. They've had over 100 players play in the league that have gone on to the major leagues.
That's cool. Yeah, and last year Lancaster won the championship. Yeah, and they have a good story history up there, along with York. York used to be a Orioles affiliate back in the day.
Yeah, I'm not too sure how that history exists or anything, but there are some ties. The original owners of the Frederick Keys actually at one point were involved with both the York and Lancaster teams. So they're local teams that are close to the area. So I'm sure a lot of Keys fans and Bowie Bay Sox and Orioles fans have ventured up to York or Lancaster to see games in the Atlantic League. And then, of course, very recently, a few years back, they added the Southern Maryland Blue Crabs in Waldorf. So a couple teams nearby that I'm sure a lot of fans have gone to games and checked out the Atlantic League and the level of baseball. Because I know there's a lot of question about how the level of baseball can compare to what the Keys used to be in the current draft league.
Yeah, I just found a video of it. I drove past it the other day. My girlfriend and I went down to Harrisburg, Virginia for my dad's birthday. We drove past it, and it looks nice for January day. Don't get me wrong; it looks really nice.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
This fall, our owners actually made a huge investment in the facility, and we installed a new bluegrass playing field for the season. So the field that had been there had gone through quite a bit of time and wear and tear, and it was time to upgrade. So one of the first projects right after the season, we ripped up the old sod and got some new sod and got that in place so we can upgrade the playing field for the players.
That's cool. Adam, you got a question?
Yeah. I was gonna say have the new team, the Frederick Crabs, but you mentioned Southern Maryland has the Blue Crabs, so
Yeah.
you called it maybe hard. You called it, to me it would be confusing, but I think it's gonna be cool to have another. And you mentioned how challenging it's gonna be, so talk to us. What's it gonna be like to have
Two teams in one stadium
at the same field?
Yeah, so the Atlantic League team, we're hosting 48 home games for that team. Typically, there's 63, so 15 games have been moved to the road to make this situation possible. But so starting in May, so the month of May, we will only have Atlantic League baseball at Harry Grove Stadium, which will be kind of nice. We'll have a little bit of free time and not be at the stadium 24/7. And then once June kicks off, we're pretty much every weekend from June through middle of September -1, we will have baseball. So 88 games total, lots of fan-friendly, fun, affordable entertainment for families to come out in the summer in Frederick.
That's cool. That's awesome. Hey, you guys just got a new manager. You just named manager to a team with no name. Yeah. So how did that all come about?
It's kind of unique. So the Atlantic League is new to all of us in the front office. So our ownership, Attain Sports Entertainment, Greg Baroni and Rich Roberts, they reached out to some veterans. So I'm sure you guys are familiar with Chuck Domino. He's been around minor league baseball for over 40 years. He most recently was in Charleston with the Dirty Birds in the Atlantic League. So he's been kind of brought in to help with the day in, day out operations that are a little bit different than minor league baseball. We actually have to sign a manager, coaching staff, and players. So that's going to be handled pretty heavily by the manager. He has a pretty good hand in that in the Atlantic League. So Mark Minikazi has been in the league a couple years. He's actually worked with Chuck back in Charleston. So last year he was in Lexington. Lexington actually had 2 Atlantic League teams last year. So this would be the second time 2 teams share a stadium, and one being an Atlantic League team and one being Major League Baseball draft league. So a little bit different, but a lot of baseball. And, it's kind of exciting. I haven't talked to the manager yet personally. He'll be in town early February. We're going to have another the press release or press conference to release the semifinal names and open the public vote, and he'll be in town. So I'm excited to meet him. I've seen lots of video of him and his energy he brings to the game. I'm sure many people, if you search Mark Minikazi, you'll find videos of him coaching and being a manager and kind of bringing home that spirit of being really passionate about the games. I saw one video of him being ejected from the Atlantic League, and it was old school, kind of like Tommy Lasorda, like he really cares about his players, and he went out and went to bat for him, and at the same time, I'm sure the fans enjoyed it as well.
And I love this league because it has some guy named Wally Backman up in Long Island, and
Right.
me, as a former Met, I got a chance to talk to him and get to know him, and he's really cool. He's a cool guy. When I was a kid, I was a little intimidated when I was a kid because I thought he was one of those badass Met guys, but he's a cool guy, and then you got down at High Point, you have Frank Viola as the pitching coach still.
Right. Yeah. There's a lot of former major league players that are coaches, managers, or even playing in the league. I know Jose Canseco actually played in the league, and Roger Clemens and Roger Clemens' son both played for Sugarland when they were part of the league. So Ruben Sierra actually played a full season in Atlantic League before he came back to the Texas Rangers. So a lot of ties to Major League Baseball, and a lot of those great characters from the 80s and 90s that we grew up watching are still involved in this league.
That's cool. Matt, you got a question for Brandon?
Yes. So with Mark and with his position as the new manager of the team to be named, I mean, how do you think that he's going to do with his first season with the team?
I think he'll be good. So Mark's a younger manager. He's been, he played a lot of time in minor league baseball. So he kind of was all over. He played in the minors. He played in independent league. He played abroad. So he's got a lot of experience in different leagues and situations. And he's been around a lot of players. So I think he's going to be good for the players. He's very passionate about the game. He's fired up and always wants to win. So I think that attitude definitely will carry over to the clubhouse and inspire the guys that are playing. So I think he'll be a good leader for him with a lot of energy and passion. And we're excited to see the players that he puts together and helps fill out a roster with.
Yeah, it's gonna be exciting baseball, and I'm only here in Cockeysville, so you guys are only an hour or two on a good day on I-70.
Yeah,
if people could drive, that's the question.
Right.
Yeah.
I think everyone in Maryland is used to driving to go somewhere. So whether it's 30 minutes and that 30 minutes can end up being an hour depending on the Beltway traffic and around Baltimore and DC. So I think it's always worth the trip. But the beauty of it is we have a lot of weekend games, so it makes it easier for families to get out, and we'll have lots of promotions. So Keys games always packed with promotions, and the Atlantic League will be doing some fireworks shows on Saturdays and some other promotions as well. So just trying to keep it fun and affordable and always entertaining for the fans.
Yeah, and real quick before I let you go, how do you keep both things together? Because
it is quite challenging.
You have like two phones, hold on. Did you do all of those or what?
It's almost like having two faces. You're kind of constantly going back and forth. So I've been pretty heavily involved and focused on the Atlantic League team, just with the launch of the new website and the name of the team promotion the last week or so. Today was a pretty heavy day with the Keys, working on getting things finalized for promotions and different partnerships we have. So it's definitely a lot to kind of keep track of, bouncing back and forth between the two team identities right now. And so it's been fun and challenging, but at the same time, it can be a little overwhelming at the same time. So
exactly. Well, keep us in mind, because I would like to come out to the press conference. Hopefully Absolutely. With my schedule, I could make it out there. I couldn't make it on January 9th. I had something scheduled, but we'd love to go out there and meet that manager and see the names of these people pick in the city of Frederick.
Yeah, it's been a great process. We've been kind of monitoring the names daily throughout the day and just kind of having discussions openly. It's been great to kind of see. I'm impressed with how much work people have put into actually explaining the concept and the story behind the name. So a lot of people are taking this pretty serious, and the names are kind of all over the place, whether it be Bird related or just Frederick related. So it's been a fun process. I'm looking forward to we'll get the short list, and we're working with Brandiose. They've done a lot of rebrands, so they worked with the Hartford Yard Goats, so Richmond Flying Squirrels, the Akron Rubber Ducks. So they've done 75 rebrands over the course of their lifespan, and so they're kind of the experts. And I'm looking forward to see what they take from our short list and the concepts they come up with.
Well, the first game of the year, first game for them is Friday, April 28th. So we'll be here soon as we know it, and so it's going to be busy winter.
Yeah, it's a busy time. So we're gearing up. Atlantic League, we're kind of looking forward to having a little bit of time. We got back from winter break, but now we got the second team. It's like, oh, we have baseball in April now, not in June. So we have a little bit light speed kind of hitting the ground running here. So it's gonna be pretty exciting. But yeah, the first road game is April 28th. First home game for the Atlantic League team will be May 2nd. And then, of course, the Keys kick off in early June. So
that's awesome. Well, keep us posted, and if there's anything cool, I'll read all the press releases I get and see if I see something, and I'll reach out to you. All right.
Really looking forward to it. We'll keep you involved, and hopefully we'll see you at the next press conference and not opening night.
All right, man. Thanks, buddy.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Talk to you soon. See you.
Thanks, Brandon.
Yep. Thank you.
All right, that's Brandon McGee, who is very busy there in Frederick. With the two teams. It's like me managing two radio stations. I used to do that, mine and then the other one, and it was really hard. Trying to, you can't really, have time for yourself. You got to, and sometimes it overlaps each other by accident.
I believe it, Chris. I believe it.
Yeah. So. So we'll do something. Hopefully they'll give us a press release for that one, and we'll bring that. We'll bring all that great stuff out there, to Frederick to hear for you folks. So that's going to be great. So they kick off April 28th. So that's going to be baseball will be here as soon as we know it.
Next month starts college baseball and college softball season. It's like, we are at the end of January. It's like we're already talking college baseball and college softball. And don't forget, guys, college lacrosse starts too. Can the Maryland Terrapins go and win another national title?
Yeah, we'll start. As soon as the calendar splits over, we'll start doing stuff in February with everybody. Baseball and all that stuff, and even spring training. We'll try to get somebody down there and see how the Oreos and the Mets are doing. And the Yankees. Yeah,
it's called George isn't here tonight.
Not here for that one.
You can mention the Yankees.
Yeah, he's out in he's in Twin Country today.
Yeah, he is. He's in Kirby Puckett here.
He's probably doing like one of these, like, oh my god, yeah.
He's in Kirby Puckett territory.
Yeah, Kirby. Yeah, yeah. I love that guy. It was really cool. Kirby Puckett doing the games on TV. Yeah, when he was doing the games, like Kirby. It was like, okay, yeah. But speaking of Kirby Puckett, we'll have our good friend Kyle Troup at 9:05, folks, tonight. So, so if you want to tune in to see him, he's basically the last bowler to bowl a perfect game on TV, right?
I do believe so. Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll talk to him about his perfecto. He did. Last year. Yeah, right. I think it was last year, right?
Yeah, that's right, Chris. Yeah, that's yeah. I mean, it's like and we can ask Kyle about he lives in North Carolina, so it's like he's been to a few Carolina Panther games, so it's like we could ask him about the head coaching position for the Carolina Panthers.
Well, I hope one day they can let him pound that drum. Because
they need to.
Yeah, because I think that would be cool. Have him pound that drum. So
I mean, you look at what Chicago White Sox have done. They've had bowling days where they've had people from Storm Bowling up there, to throw out the first pitch, and it's like, you guys in Charlotte have one of the best bowlers out there. He's from North Carolina. Have found that drum. I mean, I think that'd be cool for Kyle and the entire community of bowling.
Yeah, exactly. So speaking of pounding, no, go ahead, Matt. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, it's like I can only imagine what it's like bowling a perfect game, because I know I've been very, very close to bowling a perfect game, and it's like you get into the ninth frame, and if you're getting 9 strikes in a row, and you get into the 10th, 11th, and 12th, I mean that 10th one really I mean, you get a lot of pressure. Like if you get like say 6 in a row, that's when the pressure really starts to get on and piles on.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's like I know that I was in a position one time where I got into a 10th frame and there was a tremendous amount of pressure. Then you see everyone just coming along. When you start stringing strikes, okay, you see people come along that you have never seen before watching you and everything. And I mean, there's a lot more pressure when you get into that 10th frame, and really trying to bowl a 300 game is really, really tough.
Exactly. Well, let's switch gears back to some ice hockey, some local high school hockey. Let's bring in Mike Marley, who has been sitting there so patiently in the dashboard. So, hi, Mike. Thanks so much for waiting so patiently. I apologize for that. Everybody logged in at the same time, and I'm like sitting there going, okay, who wants to go on first?
No, it's all good. I was early. I was worried I was going to have technical difficulties, so I signed in early. So
Well, that's not bad. So, big game for you guys this weekend, this coming Friday against Calvert Hall.
Yep.
So, let's talk about this. Everybody doesn't realize that it's rivalry week every week with Calvert Hall because people somehow don't like Calvert Hall no matter what.
yeah, I mean, for us, our rivals are all the MIA opponents. So anytime we're playing, Calvert Hall, Spalding, the intensity definitely gets ratcheted up a little bit. So I know our guys will be excited to play. I think it's their senior night on Friday, so they hit us with that too. So I'm sure they'll be all jacked and ready to go, and we'll be trying to play spoiler there for them. So be a lot of fun.
I heard it did some remodeling there at Mount Pleasant, right?
Have you been up there? Have you?
No, I haven't, but I heard about it. Yeah, and I was like, because I was there years ago doing games for them, Calvert Hall, and I was doing some ice hockey high school games, and it was like it felt like it was a dungeon in there. It was too cold, and I'm like on top of the garage. I had to climb the ladder with a bag. I was like, okay.
Yeah, they put a little bit of work into it. I think it was last year. They did, really. Most of it, I think, was centered kind of around the lobby. So they put a lot of work into the lobby, kind of some of the painting throughout the whole arena. The visitors bench, though, is still pretty tiny, so we got that to work with on Friday night. But no, it's a cool arena, right? It's definitely got some flavor. It's always fun to go up there.
Yeah, it's funny that Towson University used to play there, and then they went to Ice World, and now they're all over the place. It's like, okay, where's your home games?
Right. Right.
Yeah. So where is your home games? Are your home games right? Where do you guys play at?
So we play out of rink in Laurel called the Gardens Ice House.
Okay.
Not sure if you guys have been out there. It's a great facility. They have three real full sheets out there, 2 NHL size, 1 Olympic. They got a couple small arenas. There's a little they call it the Wolf Den in the back rink where they do like goalie practices. They actually have a small outdoor arena in the winter for 3-on-3, and they got a curling arena. So it's a pretty cool place. But yes, that's been our home rink since I can't even remember. Oh man, look at these pictures.
I found this on YouTube. I'm like, I thought it was a broadcast. I'm like, wait a minute, it's like their Kodak moments. It's like, okay. Yeah.
That must have been our semifinal match against them last year. That was a pretty good one.
Yeah, I've been down to the Garden House because Matt and I used to do arena football games, and they used one of the ice rinks to play football in, and it was pretty
cool.
Yeah, it was pretty interesting how they did it, and it was I think if I remember, there's one of them that has seats. There's like one to the right that has seats, and the other one has like whatever in the back. But it was really interesting to see them play on an ice rink when you have everybody melt all your ice and say, "Here, go play for arena football."
Sure. Yeah, they do all kinds of stuff there. I remember, because I don't know how much they do anymore, but they used to do roller hockey on 1 or 2 of the rinks, and they do like youth camps in there on the sports court and stuff like that. So lots of capability at that facility. So,
Adam, you got something for?
Yeah. Now on Friday night, do you expect to be half Mount St. Joe's on one side, half Calvert Hall on the other side? Because I'm assuming it's going to be 50-50 on Friday night, when it comes to fans.
Yeah, I think being their home arena, they'll probably carry the fan crowd a little bit, but we'll find out. It's our students come out generally more for some of the Spalding games. Piney Orchard seems to be our fans' favorite arena, but we'll see. Don't get quite as many out to Mount Pleasant, so I think Calvert Hall will carry the fan ratio on Friday night. So.
Yeah, that's true. I was just looking on that. Let's see how you guys doing this year, record wise.
Yeah, we're struggling. It's been a little bit of a tough go for us. We got a younger team, so so we're struggling to put the wins together this year. But we'll see what happens in the second half. Got a lot of freshmen, young team. I think we had some growing up to do in the first half, and we'll see what happens here in the second half. I'm looking forward. We played our best game. We played Gonzaga in DC. And played really, really well last Monday. Still came up a little bit short as a tight 2-1 game, but that was a good one for us. I think it's a sign of things to come, coming into the second half of the season here. So,
yeah. Is it like growing pains when you're a coach, knowing like this year is like a rebuilding year, and you're like, okay, I don't have the firepower like last year. I got to find somebody to hook in the right lines and all that stuff. Just to give you like a lot of stress at night when you get home, going, I wish I had my guys back from last year.
I don't know, as a coach, I don't know if you're ever not stressed at night. There's always, even when you have if you have a really powerful team, there's always an issue, it's fun. We've had teams that are, lots of seniors, lots of juniors, really strong teams. And you get some teams with, younger groups, a lot of talent. And like you say, this year, this group has been, going into the season, you're kind of thinking, oh man, how are we going to make this work? And then, right away, the guys really surprised me, and they play, just how hard everybody plays, their skill level, but there's still a difference, when you're talking about a 14, 15-year-old versus a 17, 18-year-old. So, we're still trying to work to overcome that a little bit. But I really like our team that, they're really, really tenacious. A lot of fight, and I think we're going to do some good things here in the second half. So see how it goes.
Hey Matt, you got a question for Michael?
Yes. So with this being like a real big game coming up and everything, and emotions, I'm sure are going to be high and everything. How are you going to contain your players with their emotions so it doesn't get out of control, and everything? Because I know with football and stuff and everything that emotions are extremely high with football and other sports and everything. So how are you going to contain the emotions of the players with this big game coming up?
Sure. It's just a lot of it is just, what the message we're going to send to the guys. And one of the coaches I had for a long time, one of the things we used to always say was, try to keep your emotions at like a 7, like that's on a scale of 10, you want to be at a 7, so you go out there, you want to use your emotions and the intensity of the game to drive you. But, if we go out there and they score in the first minute, you don't want to be your emotions at a 10 so that you're, oh man, it's over, we're done. Or if we score, we don't want to get so excited that we start playing undisciplined. And that comes from a physical play aspect as well, right? So, we'll be sure to be telling all our guys, like, the team that goes to the penalty box the most is going to have problems tonight. So, you can play a great game, but if you're too intense, if you can't, stay out of the play in front of the net after the whistle, if you're going to the box, you're going to give up opportunities. So, high school hockey is, it is very emotional, and the team that can control their emotions a lot of times will come out on top. I think, it's hard to score in hockey at any level, but especially at high school. You look at some of the goalies in this league, a lot of good goalies. If you don't go to the penalty box, you're probably not going to give up a lot of goals. So, that's something we work with our guys from day one, staying out of the box, playing smart, no retaliation, things like that. So always important, right?
That's true. Well, Mike, thanks so much for coming on. And it's Friday night, this Friday night at 7:00 at Mount Pleasant against Calvert Hall. And is it free for people to come in, or do you have to pay like a $2 charge or $3 to there?
I don't, it's usually, I think it's probably free. Most of the high school games don't charge until you get to like the playoffs. So, but I can't, don't quote me on that, but I wouldn't expect it's much, but most likely it's free. So.
Hey, it's a donation to you get new players,
Yeah.
Yeah. But well, good luck on Friday night, and we'll try to talk to you down the road. Okay.
All right. Sounds good, guys. Thanks. I appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, Mike. See you. Bye.
See ya.
All right. It's Mike Marley, who he's the coach of Mount St. Joe's. So, Matt, did you work at Mount St. Joe's?
Actually, there's an interesting story. Mount St. Joe's, and this is going back about 10, 15 years ago. I went for an interview as a high school teacher at Mount St. Joe's. So, and it is a beautiful campus. I got interviewed by, there was 3 different people, 3 different individuals from the administration and everything, but it's a beautiful high school campus. And it reminds me of a campus like Howard Hall, Loyola High School. I mean, it really is one of your top echelon high schools and everything. And it's just really immaculate and all that.
That's cool. That's awesome. Yeah, that's really cool. Nice. What else is going on here? Some exciting things going on here. Coming up around the last interview we had tonight at 9:15, we have Ben Sherman. If you want to know, that name sounds familiar. That sounds like a Dan Sherman. Sherman is the one of the he just finished his career at ESPN doing World Series games on ESPN radio.
Yeah.
So his son is following his father's footsteps, or the company business, if you want to call it. So he'll be joining us at 9:15. He's actually doing some stuff at Syracuse, and he's been doing some stuff on the side, and he actually did a Blue Jays game last year with his dad in the on the other side doing the TV booth. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah,
that must have been really nerve-wracking. Having your dad at work working with you. Knowing if you screw up, you look at you and they're like, "Hey, what did you do wrong last night?" I don't know. No, I think he does a great job. So
he does.
Yes, folks. Next Tuesday, here on the show, we are celebrating Neil's birthday. So Neil Diamond's birthday. So if you want to send us an email with a request for his classic songs, we're only going to play a minute of them. And in between the interviews next week, so we could celebrate.
One song we gotta play, Chris, Sweet Caroline.
Yeah, Sweet Caroline and Cherry Cherry and all the good ones and stuff I know that nobody plays, that I like. There's others, there's cool B-sides and stuff that people don't realize.
You know what we should do? We should play Sweet Caroline at the very end, and all 3 of us try to sing it.
Okay.
I'm good with that. I'm good with that. I'm good with that, man. Because I know because I love that song. I mean, they play it.
Well, I do too. That's one of my favorite songs. I mean, whenever I hear, whether if it's at a football game or if it's at a ball game or wherever, in fact, one time I was at a concert and I heard them play it. Well, not play it, but sing it. And I mean, the people at the concert were just busting out with just singing it, and it's just great. I mean, it's a classic song that, I mean, anyone can sing, and people know how to sing it, and it's great. So, yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's a great song. Don't get me wrong. It is a good song to sing along to, and all that stuff. So let's take a look at what's going on in. We got time until Kyle shows up here on the program. Adam, do you have anything you want to talk about?
Yeah, actually, I think we should make some picks for the AFC Divisional round. Who we think is?
Right.
Chris, I'll let you go first.
All right.
Who makes the AFC Championship game?
Okay, the first game is going to be first game on Saturday. It's Jaguars and Chiefs. I think Chiefs are pretty heavily favored for that game. I go with Kansas City, and they'll be going to the AFC title game against the winner. What do you think, Adam?
I think it's going to be Kansas City and Buffalo and Atlanta for the AFC Championship game. I mean, it's like I think it's going to be a really good matchup. And in the NFC, I got an old-fashioned robbery. I had the New York Giants upsetting the Philadelphia Eagles in Philly, and then I have the Dallas Cowboys going back to San Francisco, winning against Brock Purdy.
Wow.
In San Francisco.
Back to the first game of the Chiefs. You have the Chiefs winning, right?
I have the Chiefs. Yes, I do. I have the Chiefs over the Jaguars and the Bills over the Bengals. And I have a good friend of mine, guys. She used to be a former Cincinnati Bengals cheerleader, and it's like so I know who she's picking on Sunday. And I'll have to get her. I'll give you her information. And she used to be a Florida Gators cheerleader, and she was a travel reporter, and now she works at CBS Sports HQ in Florida. Her name is Jacqueline D'Agostino, and her brother used to wrestle at Northwestern University in Chicago. So it's like I'll give you her information off the air, and you can contact her about having her on the show. It's called,
all right, so you have the Eagles. You have the Eagles beating the Giants.
Yep.
Giants beating the Eagles.
I have the Giants beating the Eagles and the Cowboys over the 49ers.
Okay, Cowboys over the 49ers. Cowboys versus 49ers, the old NFC rivals back in the day. Yeah, and Adam picks the Cowboys. Okay. All right, so picks the Cowboys. That doesn't pick me. Picks the Cowboys. So I pick, I'm thinking for the AFC, and the other game between Buffalo and the Bengals. If Cincinnati wins, they don't have that neutral site, right?
Right.
So that's completely gone. So if you were the Bengals, you wish you had that should have been their neutral site game against the Chiefs, not Buffalo and Kansas City. Now I don't understand why the NFL did that. That's pretty stupid. So I'm looking for the old fashioned. I don't mind the Bills. I like the Bills, but I'm looking for back to the old traditional, back to Kansas City for the AFC title game, because I think AFC title games belong in the city of that number one seed, not down in Atlanta, where people in Falcon Land have no idea who the hell. They know who Patrick Mahomes is, but why put the game in Kansas City down in Atlanta when everybody from Buffalo and KC have to travel? They should have found a neutral site somewhere. It's like literally in, maybe say, I know they wanted a dome, but what about Carolina?
Well, I was thinking, Chris, I was thinking, so I saw online, instead of Atlanta, you could have had it at the Rose Bowl in Pasadena. Yeah. I mean, you think about, why not?
So I'm going to pick the Bills. So it'll be Bills Chiefs in the that neutral site, so the NFL doesn't look like an idiot when it comes to that. And then for me, for the Giants, I'm thinking I got to go back with my old roots of Long Island. I got to go with the Giants over the Eagles. My dad used to call them the Eagles.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the Eagles. Giants, because the Giants are on a roll right now. So, and then I pick. I don't know. After the Cowboys beating the Bucs last night, I'm thinking, can they win 2 in a row on the road? They can if they could, but
Adam, no.
This lie guy has problems on the playoffs, on the road, and he probably had a better game yesterday. But I'm actually going to go with the old-fashioned rematch of the 1990 Super Bowl between the Giants, the NFC title game between the Giants and 49ers. The one that knocked out Montana. Okay. So I'm going to go with the old school there. So and I am okay. So I got Chris. Mm-hmm. Okay, I got Bills. All right. Okay, so Matt, who do you pick in the Jacksonville Kansas City game?
Jacksonville, Kansas City. I think it's going to be a close game, but I think Kansas City is going to pull it off. But the Jaguars, they're going to be close. It doesn't matter if Trevor Lawrence has 3 interceptions, but again, if he has 2 or more interceptions, I think game is over this time. I don't think he can overcome that. He was able to overcome that last week or this past weekend, but I don't think he'll be able to overcome that with Kansas City. So I think ultimately Kansas City will win and Kansas City will pull it out in the fourth quarter.
Okay. So what about Bengals Bills?
That game I feel is going to be a very, very emotional game on both sides. Both sides is going to be extremely emotional, extremely intense, because so it's going to be intense on both sides for a plethora amount of reasons. So with that being said, you have a lot of playmakers. You have the Bengals offensive line, which 3 of them are in a question mark right now, and it's really all going to depend on that offensive line. Here's the thing. If the offensive line cannot give Joe Burrow any kind of pass protection, then the Bengals are going to lose. If they are able to get him pass protection, or if Joe Burrow can run out of the pocket or maybe make some runs for maybe 5-10 yards, whatever, and go ahead and create some positive plays and go out of the pocket and be able to throw. And if he's able to do that and scramble, if his scramble ability is really high, the Bengals will win. I know there's lots of ifs with this game, but really that Bengals offensive line with 3 of their players being out or in question mark is really a huge factor. I had that game being extremely close, extremely close. The playmaker of that game, I think, is going to be Joe Burrow. He was a tremendous player at LSU with the playoffs, with the national championship that he went ahead and brought home to LSU with Coach Ed Orgeron. And I think by a very, very slim margin, maybe by 3 points or less, the Bengals pull it out.
All right, well, we'll go with that. So what's all right, we'll do the NFC after we get done with this gentleman. He's a good friend of ours here on the program, and the last time we saw him, I think we know what he did. I think he was, we saw him on TV. Was his perfect game and wearing the Kobe Bryant uniform. Good old Kobe. Yeah. So let's bring in. What was all the names I said to you today, Adam? He's the Afro.
He's the Bob Ross of. He's Bob Ross Bowling. He's Afro Fish. You ready for Indianapolis, right, Kyle?
Hey,
What's
Kyle,
up,
how you doing, buddy?
Doing well. Just woke up from a little nap, actually.
Oh,
nice.
okay.
Nice.
That's good. That's good. So,
can y'all hear me okay? My
yeah. Oh, yeah. I got you loud and clear, Kyle.
All right.
Yeah,
good
so
deal.
you've been pretty busy. How last time I tried to talk to you, you were getting ready to go down under to Australia, right? For that, we had that.
We had the World Cup going on down in Queensland, Australia. That was an awesome experience. Getting to, pretty much wake up on the beach for 2 weeks in 80-degree weather in November. That was pretty awesome. And then, obviously we won the team gold. That was the ultimate goal. Went down there, myself, Jacob Butcher, Chris Prather, and AJ Johnson. We brought home the gold medal for USA. So, that made the long 36-hour travel day.
Oh, jeez.
Well worth it to bring home the gold and, give myself and the other guys a little bit of confidence rolling through to get ready for the PBA season.
Yeah, it's going to be a great season starting up February, with the United States Open on February 5th, and I know you're looking for your second major. So, and I know you've been practicing, and I saw you've been doing a lot of PR work. I got to say, I like your microphone skills. You did a good job last week in North Carolina. I was like, that's pretty good.
I love the camera, the microphone. Anytime I can chat, talk about bowling or whatnot, help grow it a little bit. I'm all for that.
That's awesome. So So the last time I talked to you was last week. You went to a college basketball game, right? You went to see Kentucky, right?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah. How was it? How's it cool? Watch, Kentucky. They played South Carolina, right? Did they play South Carolina?
The Rupp Arena is pretty awesome, to speak. Apparently, Kentucky sucks at basketball this year. So that was pretty easy to figure out whenever I figured out the offense, which was pretty much just nothing, just backyard basketball. So it was a little rough as far as the team goes, but the experience was a pretty awesome. And I hear they got a good team, I guess, coming next year. Kentucky is they cash in the ticket the year of good recruits, and then I guess miss the tournament the other year. So
yeah, that's true. Hey, Adam, you got a question?
Yeah. No, Kyle. You live in North Carolina, and Kyle, and I've seen you at a few. I've seen you online at a few Carolina Panther games. So, got to ask you a question. Would you like to see Steve Wilkes stay on as head coach of the Panthers? I mean, he did an amazing job after what happened with Matt Rule.
Yeah, I guess as long as Sean Payton doesn't want the job, I've heard that rumor, being tossed around a little bit. He's meeting with David Tepper on Friday, so that's pretty exciting for the boys. But Steve Wilkes definitely, he did a great job last year. Finishing the season out, I wouldn't mind seeing him, lead the team again. Hope. I mean, I don't even know what we need, man. It's so tough. Like, I guess it's, offensive line. I know y'all were just talking about that with the Bengals and whatnot, but, I guess ours isn't as banged up as theirs. But, if you give any quarterback a little bit of time, then they can be okay. So, maybe we can do it with Darnold. I don't know. But, Steve Wilkes did a good job. So I'll take him or Sean Payton.
I'll agree with that, Kyle.
Will you take Lamar Jackson if he wants to come to Carolina?
Oh, yeah. All day long. Let's go.
Thank you. Yeah.
All right,
Kyle.
Well, he's not even that old.
I think it's fascinating. Like I'm up here in Baltimore, and Matt's up here with me as well. And it's like like right after the game on Sunday, you hear all the dirty laundry coming out. Like you really need to put that on Twitter. Come on, that's like I understand you got some stuff you got to air out, but like have a press conference, get it done.
Yeah, that's a little rough. As soon as the season's over, just dump it all. But that's more for media purposes and everything. So we'll just kind of have to wait and see. I don't see Lamar. I see them paying him his money. He's staying in Baltimore, but if he wants to come to Carolina, I mean, I doubt our cheap asses are going to pay him though. So he ain't coming here.
Yeah, I'll agree with that, Kyle. I'll agree with that, my friend. Yeah.
Hey, you got the ACC around the corner and now in Charlotte, the main office. So just go down there and ask him some freaking cash. Yeah, like good Lord. Yeah, but I was thinking I saw you a lot of Carolina games, and that must be cool. Did you get a chance to do all of that, the big drum or anything? We got to get you to do that.
I have not got to do that yet. I am a season ticket holder for the Panthers, so that doesn't get me too far in the door. But hey, you meet the right people, definitely go bang a drum to get the Panthers going to keep pounding.
That's awesome.
Kyle, you're like you're one of the best bowlers in the country. The Carolina Panthers should recognize you. You've been to the White Sox game for with Storm. It's like, the Panthers should let you bang the drum. You're well known. Why not?
I'd get them going, that's for sure. So you never know.
Of course.
Exactly. So Kyle, what is your goals this year in 2023? I know last year you were the player of the year, and that was a lot of pressure on you because people who won player of the year before has like everybody's watching you and making sure you're doing everything right and all that stuff. This year you're not the player of the year. You feel more loose and relaxed and ready to go and say, hey,
that was a little bit of pressure for sure. And then I kind of learned and adjusted to that pretty quickly. Working on a few things, but the goal is definitely I want to win another title, become Hall of Fame eligible. If I can get one more title this year, it'd be 10 wins. So that would qualify me for the Hall of Fame. There is no playoffs this year, on the schedule. So I'm hoping they give a WWE belt for the Super Slam so I can get my brother a belt because he still needs one.
Yeah, it's called.
So that means I may need to win another major. So I guess that's the goal. I need to win a major this year.
It's called just between us, Kyle. don't tell anyone else at the PBA Tour, but I am making a trip down to Florida for the Super Slam before I come up to Maine for the PBA League. So that's called. So it's like
I gotta be there.
Keep that a secret. It's called. I don't want anyone else to know.
That's awesome. That's cool. So, so Matt, you got a question for Kyle?
Yes. So Kyle, what's it like? Well, I know that I've been a long time bowler and everything, and I've been very close to bowling a 300. So tell us what it's like and the pressures that you have to go through with bowling a 300.
Well, I mean, the pressure obviously comes. I mean, actually, I had a little bit of pressure today. I was practicing, and I was doing actually media day for Coolwick, wearing a lot of my different Kyle Troup merch, shooting video. And then before I knew it, I had the front nine on the lane and actually bowled 300 today. But, no matter if it's on TV or in practice, that pressure always amounts. But that's the moment that, us as bowlers kind of look forward to is being able to capture that moment. So you've got to just stay present, treat it just like another frame, stick to the good tempo, stick to the good shots that got you there. And, I kind of look at it as like, I'm going to bowl till you tell me to stop, and then throw 3 more strikes in the 10th. And then, hey, the game's over and you bowl 300. That's what I think gets a lot of people in the moment when they have the front nine or whatever, is they really start thinking forward like, oh my God, I'm only 3 strikes from a 300, instead of thinking, okay, it's the 10th frame, I need to throw a good shot, and then 11th and 12th and so on. So, it's all about how you handle the moment. I love it. Especially on TV, makes it even that much more special. Makes it a little better for the pocket or the pockets as well. But it's definitely just trying to stay in the moment and not get too forward or staying in the present with your thoughts.
Yeah. So you got Woodland Bowl coming up. Not this weekend, the weekend after. How special is that, Lanes? But you won a doubles title there too, right? So it's a nice. Yeah. How nice is the pair there?
Well, the bowling center itself is great. It's 80 lanes straight across. It's been a monument on the PBA Tour for a long time. I have won a tournament there, so I definitely have some confidence. And last year, I finally made the cut at the U.S. Open. I didn't make match play, but we broke the string of no checks at the U.S. Open. So I'm looking forward to going back there. I can actually remember some of the equipment that I used last year. So, that's beneficial just, because that's such a high friction house. So I've kind of got a good game plan going into the Open and trying to sharpen it up, just about every day, practicing for the next few weeks.
That's cool. Well, Kyle, Matt and I are hoping to make a trip out there to Indianapolis because I have the weekend off, and I'm thinking, I would love to go out there and see you guys and do the first tournament of the year and get some interviews for my show and keep it rolling and all that good stuff. And how's the sunglasses doing? I see you with a lot of the sunglasses on. How's that going?
Yeah, I signed on with Ray's Eyewear again for 2023. Right now it's obviously not really. Well, I guess still sun shines out and whatnot, but I've got definitely some cool designs. I know Ray's Eyewear as a whole has a bunch of new designs releasing in 2023. Their business kind of really gets going about the end of January because they do a big PGA golf show down in Florida. And that's when they drop all their new releases, and then they release it on their new catalog. So they've got a busy month coming up, getting ready for February, and then obviously we'll drop some new stuff with Rays throughout the year and see what we can partner with them and come up with.
That's cool. And before I let you go, how's your dad doing?
He's good, man. His
That's
birthday's tomorrow. His birthday is tomorrow, actually.
Happy early birthday.
Tell him happy birthday.
Yeah.
Young age of 73 years old, so he's doing well.
Nice, Kyle. Nice, man.
Get out on the boat. It's going to be like 65 degrees tomorrow in North Carolina, so we're going to get out on the boat and go eat down on the water a little bit here in Hickory or in Taylorsville. So, that's exciting. And he's coming to the Open as well. He'll be up there for the week.
Nice.
So maybe if you can make the trip out, you can catch, chat with him, have a crown with him as well.
I would love to meet him because growing up watching bowling on ABC Sports, he was cool with all the cool pants and all the flashy stuff, and I'm like, this is cool, So it'll be great. So, well, let me let you go because I know you have a lot of stuff to do, and I know you woke up from a nap. I know you want to get you told me last week when I texted you this week, like, hey, is 9:05 okay? You're like, some people go to bed early. I was like, I'm like, what do you mean? Yeah, we don't.
I always appreciate that you have me on the show. Big fan of what you guys do.
Thank you.
Glad
I appreciate
this
that.
time
Thanks,
call,
Kyle.
and hopefully we can see an Indy. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, and I
Yeah,
hope
you'll see me in Portland. You'll see me in Portland in September, Kyle. So that's a fact.
Oh, yeah, I know that.
I'll do my best.
Well, thanks, Kyle.
All right, Kyle. Talk to you soon, man. Tell your dad happy birthday. All right.
Thanks, Kyle.
Thanks, Kyle.
All right, see you. Bye.
Later.
All right, that's our good friend Kyle Troup. I appreciate all the kind words you just said about
Yes.
all that stuff. So Guppy Troup his birthday tomorrow, 73 years old. So if you're a bowling nut, hopefully I don't think he's on Facebook, but yeah. Anyway, let's bring in this gentleman. He is a son of a famous broadcaster. If you're up in Toronto during the summer and you probably tune on the TV and you hear this voice, he's the son of Dan Stroman, who is here's Ben. Let's bring Ben in here. Ben, hey Ben, how you doing?
Good. How are you guys doing? Thanks so much for having me on.
No problem. Thank you so much. We were, when I was doing my looking around, getting ready for baseball, because I'm in this baseball mode because I'm tired of the winter months of like nothing except for football. But you did some Blue Jays stuff, so I know your dad's still up there in Toronto doing the Blue Jays. So what do you think about them right now?
They're a really exciting team right now. I mean, growing up in Toronto, and for everyone, it's not a very followed team in the U.S., but for everyone who would follow the Blue Jays, there were a lot of lean years. After going back to back in the 90s, they didn't make the playoffs until 2015 again. So having promising teams like this has not been super regular. They look really good now. I mean, they got a lot of young talent. Everyone knows Vlad Guerrero, and Bo Bichette's there as well. He's really good. A couple other guys, Alek Manoah. So they look like they're on the precipice of something big potentially, like maybe contending to make or win a World Series in the next couple of years.
Yeah, it's true. And last year they had like last couple of years they've been in the playoffs, but it seemed like they couldn't get over that step. I think they need to get to that level. Do they need like a starting pitcher? I know there's not a lot of good starting pitching out there right now because I know DeGrom went down to Texas. Verlander went to Citi Field. Is there anything that the Blue Jays could get that might bring a number one starter to Toronto?
I don't think they are in the market for a number one, probably. To be honest, they made some big commitments recently to pitchers. Kevin Gausman, who they signed last offseason, has, I think, 6 more years on his deal. Jose Barrios, who they traded for last year, has 6 more years on his deal. And then Alek Manoah, who debuted 2 years ago in the middle of the year, but just pitched his full season, I believe has still 5 years of club control available for them to have him. So I think what they want to try and do is complement some of that and hope that those guys can lead. And I did like their pickup in the rotation. They grabbed Chris Bassett in the offseason. Is he going to be the number one starter? No. But for the last 5 or 6 seasons, he's had an ERA around 3 or maybe just over 3. So I think that's a good ad for them. And I think where a lot of people maybe have more questions now is looking at the bullpen and what can they be, because if you don't remember, they actually infamously lost in the last day of the season after having, I think, an 8-run lead. I was actually at the game, but I've tried to block it out from my memory. An 8-run lead, I believe, on the Seattle Mariners before being come back on. So overreaction or not, people, because of that, I think, are very into how's the bullpen going to perform going forward.
That's true. Adam, you got a question for Ben?
I was looking at your bio on Twitter, and you do stuff with the Toronto Raptors NBA G League team, the Raptors 905. So tell us about that.
Yeah, that's been a great experience. I just moved back to Toronto after living in the U.S. for a couple of years, and it's located just about 30 minutes west of Toronto in Mississauga, the Raptors 905. I got in touch with some great people there, and I get to call the home games on radio. I do it with Dwayne Notice, who played 4 years at South Carolina and was actually SEC Sixth Man of the Year one year. He's from the area as well, and still recovering from an injury. So it's kind of a unique situation to get a player in the middle of his career, actively playing pros. That's been a lot of fun. And the Raptors have been out of Toronto, definitely, for a little bit, the most successful organization that Toronto has boasted. So to be in and around that kind of group has been really fun.
Yeah. Well, Ben, your dad is, everybody down here knows your father, doing a really good job on ESPN, and, he does a lot of college basketball. What games is he doing right now? Is he doing any big name college basketball games right now?
Tonight he has the night off. He's just he's hanging out in Toronto. I know he was recently at Kentucky, Tennessee. He was in that game. But yeah, still the regular, lots of like ACC Saturday and Big Monday games you should see. Although maybe a little less ACC the way they've been playing recently, but ACC, SEC, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So what did you learn from your father? Because I know a lot of people, I see a lot of people being like, we try to cover people like, Pete Weber, Dick Weber, people like Cal Ripken, and, and his father was, very good here in Baltimore, all that stuff. How difficult was you growing up, with your father, knowing that your father's a guy on TV all the time, and you're like, oh, that's my dad. Okay, I can watch TV and he's safe and he's okay. I know what his profession is. What did he teach you in your career?
Well, I have to throw in the father-son duo of Kyle and Guppy Troup for a second, because that's quite the act to follow, by the way. Come after him. That's a legend right there, as someone who spent a summer in Fort Wayne, Indiana. But it was interesting. I mean, for talking about seeing him on TV, I'm the youngest of my brothers, and he was already pretty established by the time I can remember. So where a lot of people would think it would be weird, which, I totally understand. For me, it was so normal, kind of my whole life, that sometimes he was going to be gone and then we could watch him on TV and then he'd be back again. But I've learned a lot from him. I mean, he, has definitely been the major guiding force in a lot of this stuff that I do, and really set the foundation. He actually, for a lot of my formative broadcast years, wasn't super involved when I was at Syracuse and times like that. He kind of let me build my own path and find my own sound. But since graduating and now entering the professional world, now that I at least have, some of my own identity as I continue to work it out, he's kind of been helping me with that. And also, a really helpful guide on the professional side, because the world of broadcast is definitely unique in some respects and how it works.
Yeah. Well, you did a game last year for a Blue Jays game, right? And your dad was doing it on the TV side. That must have been nerve-wracking. Like your dad's like next door to you, and you're doing the radio side. And if you say something that because normally everybody could hear what's going on the radio stuff, and you're saying to yourself, oh, I hope I didn't say anything dumb, and your father, your father was like, son, we need to have a conversation here. But how nerve-wracking knowing that your dad was just like two doors down, and if you needed something, you could go, Dad, I need help with something.
It wasn't too bad. I mean, I will say good news. He was actually, the way the Rogers Center works, he was on top of me at that point. So he probably couldn't hear me. Thankfully, they have the TV booth on one higher level than the radio booth. So directly sitting on top. But the funny thing is that game wasn't actually the first game that he and I have called at the same time. When I was at Syracuse, every once in a while, he'd be in a Syracuse game for ESPN, and I'd be broadcasting the game at school. It actually, in 2022, I think it happened 3 different times. So at least I had a little experience going into it on a lower stage. But in general, I mean, I don't say it to try and, be overconfident or anything, but I don't tend to get nervous in situations like that. When you have the headset on and you can't see the people that are listening to you, you kind of forget, at least in my experience, that all of it's happening. So if anything, if he's up there doing it, he's not listening to me. So whatever I messed up that day, he didn't hear it, and I didn't hear it after.
Hey, Matt, you got a question for Ben?
Yes, Ben. So talk about how, like, literally every AL East team can be in contention for the playoffs. I mean, this is like really unheard of, because, I mean, just talk about how that impacts baseball, and just talk about how every single team can potentially be in the playoffs.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. I mean, I know people west of, the East Coast don't like the bias and a lot of the coverage, but this is by far the toughest division in baseball, in my opinion. There's just no way around what's been going on the last couple of years. And the NL East and the NL West are great too, but obviously the Yankees are going to be good again. I mean, they've only gotten better. They're the same team with Carlos Rodon. The Rays are going to be good every year pretty much until they prove they're not going to be. It really doesn't matter who's on the roster. And then if you take the Orioles after Adley Rutschman got called up last year, they had a playoff level winning percentage. They had just been bad enough before. Like they actually, I believe, had a similar, if not the same record as the Blue Jays did from that point on. They just didn't have Rutschman the whole year. So the only team I think that people are a little comfortable about is the Red Sox right now, just because a lot more players seem to be going out than in. But, I'd be hard pressed to count out the Boston Red Sox given they've won 4 World Series since 2004. They have a good enough track record to trust them a little bit. So it's really tough. I think that's one thing sometimes that can get lost with the expectations, whether it be in Toronto or Baltimore with them coming up now or elsewhere. Every team in the division has high expectations and someone has to fail. And it's basically a race to not become last in the division because everyone else has a shot at the playoffs.
That's true. I think baseball's wide open for anybody. I just feel like, whoever you get that, and even like you see at the end of the year, Ben, like one team's always hot at the end of the season, no matter what it is. It could be the Orioles, could be the Blue Jays, could be, the A's. Some years the A's make it the postseason. It's just that's what baseball is. They try to be balanced now.
For sure. I mean, you see it last year on the AL side, the Astros, the number 1 seed, sweep their way through. But on the NL side, the 2 bottom teams, the Padres and the Phillies, met in the NLCS. And the Phillies could have won the World Series. And, they were 3rd in their own division. So it is interesting. With the expanded playoffs, too, it's even more wide open. So it really feels at this point like it's just get in and then hope once you get in, you can make a run. Because like you said, baseball is so much about momentum and streaking at the right time. It's almost never the best team that ends up winning the World Series.
Exactly. Adam, you have one more question for Ben?
Yeah. Now, since you were at Syracuse, did you get a chance to cover all the sports that Syracuse has, especially with the lacrosse team?
Oh yeah. I one of the great things about Syracuse in general is I got to do pretty much everything. I mean, in my time there, men's and women's basketball, men's and women's lacrosse, football, field hockey, ice hockey, soccer. They really provide opportunities for you to do whatever you want. And then lacrosse, I mean, that's, it's king there. And it was great for me, a Canadian. There's so many Canadian players on the lacrosse team that it was really great to relate. They didn't admittedly have their best seasons while I was there. They're still looking for that first national title since 2009. But I went to Syracuse, not necessarily a lacrosse fan. And then I went to one game versus Army, and Jamie Tromboli scored 5 goals, I believe, to help us win 9-8. Like a real low-scoring game, I would come to find out, even though coming from hockey, I thought, there's so many goals today. But it hooked me immediately. And the fact that any team can score 4 goals, basically, a minute or something and completely flip a game. It's really nothing like lacrosse. And I hope to get back to a game pretty soon.
That's true. Well, Ben, thank you so much for coming on tonight, bud. I appreciate to get to know you. And good luck with the rest of the winter months. I know you're going to get ready for some good games like lacrosse and all that stuff, but we'll try to talk to you a little bit down the road.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for having me on, guys. Would love to come on again.
All right, Ben. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Ben.
Thanks.
All right, that's Ben Sherman. His father is a well-known broadcaster up there in the beautiful country of Toronto. Dave Sherman. So, well, folks, we're going to wrap up the show here. Top of 2 minutes before we go, let's finish. Matt needs to finish his picks here. So let me. So we left off with the Giants and Eagles. So Matt, who do you have for that game?
Giants and Eagles. I am going to go with the Giants.
Okay. And then the last playoff game of the of the weekend, 49ers, Cowboys.
Chris, it really was shocking when I heard last night that the Cowboys, I know I already said this, that they haven't won a playoff game, not a Super Bowl, but one playoff game since 92. That to me was I just couldn't believe that. But I mean, I think that the 49ers are going to be too much for the Cowboys. The Cowboys, I mean, they play against the Buccaneers. And Adam, I know you picked the upside and everything, but the Cowboys really faced the Buccaneers, which really had an off season this year and everything. So they really didn't face a tough team in the playoff game. So, and the 49ers, I think, are much more powerful, strong on both sides of the ball. So I think 49ers are going to win hands down, and they could win by double digits. But I think 49ers.
Well, it's going to be good. So that's your picks for the divisional round. And next week we'll do the conference championship games on next Tuesday, and that's when George will be back back here on the program. So, folks, thanks for joining us. Next week we'll be back here at a good old 7 o'clock. Top at 7 o'clock to do another good 2 hours or 2.5 hours, whatever we could cram in there. And next week we'll have some baseball. We got some Mets stuff. We got some Orioles stuff. And we'll dive into hopefully all these championship games coming up. So, folks, thanks for joining us. Have a great rest of your week. Hopefully you enjoy all the good stuff here on the show. And we will see you next week here. And I think we have we got nothing to play. So we're going to roll out of here. So we'll see you all next week, everybody.
Good night, everybody.